couple hours drive, but I think most people can make it. And it's members only. So become a member today, because you never know when we're going to make the announcement. And we typically just we're going to send out emails to everybody, let them know. But if you'd like to support our work directly, go to timcast.com. Also, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about this and whatever else, David Lucas.
Yeah, I'm here.
Who are you? What do you do?
Hey, man, what's up, bro? Y'all already know who I am. You know me from All Dev Digital's Roast Me, Kill Tony, MTV, Yo Mama Back in the day. I'm a roaster. I'm a comedian. I'm a YouTuber. I'm an Instagrammer. I'm out here.
Right on. Yeah, most people have been chatting that you're one of the GOATs. You're I just got to tell you, when we walked in, we were excited you were here. You had a comedy bit go viral, but you're generally, you got quick wit, man.
Yeah.
We were down, I meet you for the first time, and you're downstairs, and I'm laughing every 5 seconds, because like everything that comes up, you've got some,
yeah,
it's good.
I mean, for me, comedy has always been a coping mechanism, man. I didn't grow up in the best of circumstances. I found out this week that I'm not black.
That's news to me.
Yeah, I found out after getting canceled for the GF joke. Y'all know what GF stands for. I found out this week I'm not black because my father is Hispanic. So apparently
they pulled your card.
They pulled my card. Damn. They found out.
I thought you were gonna say you didn't vote for Biden.
They found out that my daddy's Hispanic. My full name is David Manuel Lucas. The world knows that now, and I'm not black. So you know.
Well, it'll be interesting, I guess, then. But yeah, I guess Serge is African American.
That's right.
Are you from South Africa?
Yeah, how'd you know? You got a little bit of education, yeah.
That's the only way you can be. That's the only way you can be African American.
Yeah, sure. But some people don't know that. I get often questioned like, "Oh, why are your parents black?" Like all the time, more than you'd find hilarious. It's kind of like, wow,
you're more African American than me.
Hey, I guess apparently not.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
All right, thanks for hanging out. Should be a lot of fun. We got Shane hanging out.
That's awesome. I'm Shane Cashman. I'm here, one of my favorite comedians. It's awesome that you're here. Kill Tony is one of my favorite shows.
Thank you, bro.
So it's a real honor to be here tonight. What is good, Ian?
Oh man, so many things, Shane. I'm happy to be here too. Ian Crossan, what's up, dude? Dude, David, I heard you asked him what that crystal ball is all about.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you. It's not only is it a lens, you can light stuff on fire through direct sunlight, but it's quartz, and it vibrates with sympathetic vibration with other crystals nearby. Your bones are made of crystal.
That ball is not quartz.
It's quartz crystal crushed into a sphere.
Really?
This whole time?
And
that's expensive.
Not anymore. They figured out how to do it in laboratories.
Yeah, no, because we got. I bought Ian that rose quartz over there. It's like $400.
Yeah, but these are like $100 now. You can get it pretty cheap.
Oh, that's not expensive.
Yeah, those are cheap. Compared to like 500 years ago, a king would have sent 60,000 gold coins to get something like that made because they were so challenging
to find
and
shit, bro.
Yeah,
it was rough.
But, so, in addition to vibrating with your bones, I mean, we go into it on the show. I'm happy to see it, man.
Bro, like I was saying, it's vibrations.
What kind of vibrations are
yeah. Well, like, it's called sympathetic vibration. And what happens is a crystal over here will vibrate. Another crystal over here will start to vibrate at the same frequency.
This some Black Panther shit. Y'all trolling me.
I'm talking about, dude.
Is that vibranium? Y'all trolling me already.
Oh, yeah. Ian, it's only magic till you figure out how it works.
Anybody who's seen the show will tell you, no. Ian talks about vibrating all the time.
Dude, I'm so into it,
we don't know what it's about, but he loves it.
Let's go deep.
You must have a mangina.
All right, we'll find out on the after show.
Why are you so fascinated with vibrating?
He says we'll save it for the after show.
It just feels so good, David.
All right, let's get to the news.
Yeah, I'm here as well. Yeah, stuff vibrates, bro.
All right, okay, let's talk about news. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to talk about news today, but we're gonna laugh at it a lot. We got this from Daily Mail. Shark Tank's Kevin O'Leary slams mega loser state New York over $355 million Trump verdict and says it will drive business out of the state. So most of you probably know by now because, Stephen Colbert went nuts on his show complaining about it. But Trump's been ordered to pay $354.9 million that claimed it was fraud. I'll give you the simple version. Why is it fraud? So Donald Trump is trying to get loans. He wants to build a building. So he goes to the bank and says, look, I need, let's say $100 million. And they say, okay, we'll give you $100 million, but what's your collateral? How can you back up this loan in the event you don't pay? And he says, I got this building over here. It's worth $100 million. They look at it and they go, I don't know. That's got to be 70. And he goes, trust me, it's worth 100. Here's why. And they go, okay, fine. Here's your loan. They give him a loan. He builds a building. New York argued that because he claimed the value of his building was higher than what they think. It's fraud. I'll give you a better example of how we know this verdict is total BS. They claimed Mar-a-Lago, which is, it's got to be $1 billion property. They said it was $20 million. You know that's wrong, because next door to Mar-a-Lago is a plot of land about a tenth the size of Mar-a-Lago for like $30 or $40 million.
Wow.
So, right. So in New York, they're just outright lying. So Kevin O'Leary, he's a real estate developer. This is crazy because he's talking about the biggest game right now in real estate is data centers, because everybody needs a data center, like all this new tech. And so you need a big power source. And he was like, New York's got Niagara Falls. They can generate a lot of power. You want to build a data center up there. Plus, I'm sure there's something with keeping it cold. And he goes, New York's out. I won't do business in New York. So this is where it gets crazy. The governor actually had to come out and reassure business owners over what happened because they're scared and threatening to pull out. Kevin O'Leary's already done. He's a TV personality, so you know he's going to be on TV saying it. Imagine how many other investors are like, I'm not going to do business in New York. Think about this. No matter what your business is, the state will just lie, accuse you of fraud, and steal your money from you.
Right.
Why do business in New York? So Kathy Hochul, the governor, comes out. This is Sunday. Guardian reports saying you have nothing to worry about after Trump was fined. It's a one-off thing. Law-abiding and rule-following New Yorkers who are business people have nothing to worry about because they're different than Donald Trump and his behavior. The only problem, everybody knows, that's not true. Trump did not do anything wrong. So let them reap what they sow, I guess. There you go. That's the news.
Did she come out in response to Kevin O'Leary, or did he make a video after this comment?
He's been doing several interviews where he's like freaking out. He's like, I don't understand what's going on. How does this happen? And even in the trial, when they're trying to determine how much Trump had to pay, the people who lent Trump money were like, he did nothing wrong. We loved what he did.
Right.
We got rich from him, and we like him. And they were like, that doesn't matter. He committed fraud.
I got this friend last night who's he would even consider himself like a leftist. He'd be like, he's progressive leftist Portland guy or whatever, and he's like, I want Trump to get what he has coming to him with all this stuff, but there's something weird about the way all this stuff is coming right now before an election where he's trying to run.
Right.
That it seems bad, and I'm like, yeah, it is. I agree with you. It does.
In the clip, in one of the clips from Kevin O'Leary is a guy from Shark Tank,
right?
In one of the clips, he says, "I know that Trump has a whole bunch of other court cases or whatever against him. I don't care. I'm not pro or con or whatever, but this one makes no sense." And I'm like, Kevin, they're all like that. None of them make sense. It's just that he's a real estate developer, so he sees this and goes, "Whoa, they're framing Trump. They're lying about this." Now imagine everything else they're doing to Trump.
Exactly. If they can lie about this one, what else did they fucking lie about?
Everything.
It's so crazy because when you look at a state and a city like New York City's failing just like LA. They since COVID exposed a lot in both of those cities, and you can also use other cities as an example. But I lived in LA. And when you get fascinated by the views and the weather and the things that there are to do in LA, you kind of overlook all the bullshit that's actually happening in LA. And once you have to sit at home and deal with everything, then you kind of look like, damn, this is really a shitty ass city. There was so much, what do you want to call it? Mental health issues going on in LA.
I was going to use a worse word than that.
I'm trying to be careful. So I'm trying to be careful. But there was so much BS going on in LA during all of COVID to where it's like, this is a disgusting city to live in. I always love LA because since I was a kid, I wanted to live there. But the way it's ran politically, that city has not been the same since we had Mayor Villaraigosa. Who they considered a criminal. And when you talk about running a metropolis like LA or a metropolis like New York, can you really be a righteous motherfucker to run a city like that?
Can we say feces spattered cesspit? I'm trying to be mean enough, but here's the trick on YouTube. If your insults are academic, they let it go. So if you like cuss at someone and call them like a really like bad word, YouTube's like, whoa. But if you say something like,
fecal palace,
smattering of
fecal palace.
Do you think that you got to be a nasty dude just to get control if you're going to be like govern a city like that?
I don't think it's nasty, but The balance is both having good and bad, right? And I like to talk about the duality in life all the time. And when you have a city like LA, it's not just ran on morality, right? Because as you see, when they made it not a felony to steal, what do we have in LA? Criminals started getting smarter. So in order to go do smash and grabs, they would take 20 to 30 people with them and grab $20,000 worth of stuff, so nobody's charged with a felony. That's how you get more intelligent to still be a criminal.
You know what they do in Chicago? Because this happened to me like 10 years ago. They quote unquote panhandle. So a guy comes up to you with something in his pocket pointed at you, and he says, "Hey, can I get $100? Can I get $100? What do you got in your wallet?" And then what happens is people just panic because you're told by the police, hand over your money when someone wants it. When they call the cops, what happened? They say the guy came up to me and he told me to give me my money, and they're like, okay. If they ever catch the guy, he was like, that's not what happened. I asked him for money, and he said yes. Then the police are like, what did he ask you? Like, well, yeah, he said, can I have money? And I said yes. And they're like, sir, he's a panhandler. You can't accuse him of mugging. So now the muggers, they mug you while being like, can I have your money, please?
That is
And they're like,
genius.
yeah.
On the
Yeah,
mugger's part.
I mean, you got to give it to them.
Wow.
With those
magic.
smash and grabs, though, that would be conspiracy. That should be charged as conspiracy. If 20 guys each take $1,000.
I mean, but dog, look, prior to all this BS, one of my favorite cities was San Francisco. You could fly up 45 minutes to San Francisco and get an escape out of the hustle and bustle in LA because it's really a tech city. Nobody cares about, entertainment or stuff like that. And it's kind of just a real city with good Chinese food. But now I don't even do shows there because I was doing a show in Spokane, Washington, and my rental car got broken into.
Wow.
And they stole my suitcases, and I don't want to file through insurance.
Yeah.
So here I am out of $3,000. I got to replace the window and replace all the stuff that was in the car.
Was it in the trunk? Did they bust it open and pop the trunk?
Yeah, it was a Jeep Wrangler.
Man. So they couldn't see it in the trunk? They just went and looked through the trunk?
They broke the glass, but the way one of my suitcases was situated, I wedged it in between the back seat and the tailgate, so they couldn't take that one out. But everything on top, they mostly got dirty clothes. So they had to wash the clothes before they actually sold them or wore them.
They're probably wearing them, walking around right now.
Yeah, like it smells like him, too.
You're gonna see that guy from the Biden administration on TV wearing your clothes. You remember that?
Hilarious. See him in a 3X that's too big.
What kind of mental health degradation did you notice in LA while you were living there?
I mean, what was that president name that took away the mental health stuff? Reagan.
Reagan?
So, I mean, if you go to a certain part, so when I first moved to LA, homeless people and kind of like anybody with any type of mental health issues was very concentrated to an area downtown known as Skid Row. And, it would kind of, sometimes it would seep over into 2 or 3 blocks because I used to live on 5th and Spring, which is maybe like 3 or 4 blocks away from Skid Row. So every now and again you get one straggler that left the Queen.
That's like downtown.
Huh?
That's like downtown, like center downtown, right?
Yeah, it's center down.
Yeah.
So I used to live on 5th and Spring, and every now and again you get a couple of stragglers, or we have some cool homeless people or people with mental issues. Like we had a pirate that was real famous when I first moved there, and he would just come to the bar that I would go to all the time. We'd buy him a beer, and he'd be cool as shit. But after COVID, it started spreading, because there's nobody's outside to police these people. There's no governing body. So then you start, like, I was living in Studio City at the time, and then I moved.
That's in the Valley?
Studio City's in the Valley, yeah. So I was living in Studio City, right? And I was living on like Ventura and Vineland. We didn't have any type of stuff like that. Like there was no tent city in Studio City. There was no real, I mean, you catch a few homeless people on Ventura Boulevard, but that shit's so far away from all the shelters and stuff, they really don't get too far away from where they need to be to, possibly sleep at night if it's too cold or rainy. But during the pandemic, dude, I remember one time me and my oldest daughter, were walking to Rouse because there was a route to go through Rouse where you had to like cut through a few apartment buildings, and then instead of like walking all the way up Vineland and then going down Ventura, you can cut through a few apartment buildings. And we went down that damn We went through the shortcut and tents were everywhere, just junkies laying everywhere. Some dude with his meat just hanging out, just laying. And I'm like, man, I'm like, baby, close your eyes.
Wow.
Like I'm not, because like, what type of world do we live in where you can't walk to the grocery store with your kid?
Yeah.
Did LA release a lot of prisoners at COVID? I remember they beating a lockdown
Probably.
because in New York they did. They
But
would just release everybody.
I think that's a lot of it too, because they started unloading the prisons.
Yeah.
And so we're asking ourselves, like, where do all these homeless people come from?
Arkham.
They basically cut loose all of the, like, look, the people who are in these jails, many of them are probably mentally ill, and that results in them doing things like exposing themselves or like they're going to find themselves getting arrested for some kind of like social order or disorderly conduct kind of thing. Then when COVID comes, like, oh, we can't keep these people locked up, so we got to release everybody.
Right.
They're going to go join the 10 cities. But I think a lot of it might be too, they shut a bunch of businesses down.
Yeah.
And I heard stories, I don't know to what degree the homeless people explosion we've seen throughout the country, because it's everywhere, is because of this. But I have seen like those YouTuber interviews, like maybe, I don't know, people will go on the street and they'll film people. And there was one I saw where it was like a guy and a woman who looked like they were in their 50s and they looked ragged. And they were like, oh yeah, we just worked like low income jobs, but when COVID stopped, we lost our income and we just became broke and homeless.
Right.
And so they just were like, it's easier for us now. We live in a trailer on the street with all these tents everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, I get that part. There's a lot of people who strive low in life and probably take advantage of a lot of, government assistance type shit. And when COVID came, those bottom level jobs were out. So they had, but I mean, like, dude, like if y'all follow like the Instagram account, Instagram account, like Street People of Los Angeles, there was a dude living on Sunset Boulevard who had a whole fucking tarp.
The apartment thing that he built.
Yeah, he had a whole apartment with
crazy.
He had more shit in his tarp with electricity probably running. Well, it had to be running illegal. How else did he have an essential core? Running illegal electricity to power a TV. Had a living room, kitchen.
Like,
Did he have other
gym
people
and
living in
stuff,
there
too.
with him? Was he like renting it out?
Who knows? Probably.
If this kind of stuff continues, I predict that we will see abandoned buildings will become it'll like a shift in some pseudo ownership will occur, where the building or like the people surrounding the buildings in these homeless areas become untenable. Like you can't run a business out of it surrounded by homeless people, so they abandon it. Nobody wants to buy it. The property value goes to zero. The guy stops paying tax on it. It becomes abandoned. You go to Chicago, you drive on I-55, you're going to see abandoned buildings just like to your left. And you're like, I wonder why that building's abandoned. You drive down to like, you go towards, I don't know if people know where the Burnham skate park is, but when you go down there, there's a bunch of old abandoned factories, paper mills. What's going to happen is homeless people just take them over. They're going to take them over and they're going to turn into like pseudo ownership, like buildings, and the government will not get involved. Police will not get involved. In fact, they'll probably be happy about it because it takes some of these homeless people off the streets, but it's going to create a weird parallel society. Maybe not like, I don't mean literally as big as mainstream society, but this is a phenomenon that happens around the world. You end up with, I'll give you an example, is the favelas in Brazil, in South America. You end up with these shanty towns. That's what favela basically means. People build what they feel like building, where they feel like building it. There's no regulation. There's no governance. So like 10 years ago, when the World Cup was coming to Brazil, the government was like, we have no control over the favelas because we just let this parallel society grow. So there's gangs that run it. So they went in with these groups called the Core and the Bopi, I think they were called. This is like the acronyms. Basically dudes with rifles who went in and started arresting and killing the de facto governance of it. And then they called it a pacification. We're going the opposite.
Yeah.
Skid Row and these homeless camps are going to turn into shanty towns where the police are going to leave. No cop is going to be like, I'm going to arrest a homeless guy. Why? What's that going to do for you?
No reason. Right.
Homeless guys are going to be like, doors open. Why sleep outside when I can sleep inside and there's no cops? And then you're going to have just people taking over and building these shanty towns in our cities. It's probably already happening.
I was just
same thing that happened in San Fran. Who visited San Fran recently where they put up the
Xi Jinping?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Where they cleaned the city up to make it look so nice and pretty for this guy. Kind of like the same thing when what was it? Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier had the Rumble in the Jungle. And the police knew it was a fucked up area, so they started like killing anybody who was known to be a criminal to make Africa look like this really dope ass place.
Crazy.
Let's jump to this story.
Crazy.
We got this story from The Independent. Truckers for Trump are refusing to drive to New York City after $350 million fraud ruling. Boycott NYC was trending on X with more than 13,000 posts mentioning the term. This morning, Truckers was trending with 300,000 references to the boycott. And then there was another, Boycott NYC was trending substantially more than just 13,000 by the time this story came up. Here's a funny thing. So the story originates with a guy. He's a trucker. He's like, I'm on the radio and I'm hearing these people saying they're not going to accept loads going into New York. It was like 10 guys. It turns into a definitive headline. Truckers for Trump are refusing to drive because one dude made a video saying he talked to some people on the radio. I hope it's more widespread than just that.
It could be 2 truckers. It could be 1,000.
Right.
The way this headline is
That
written.
being said, we have heard mutterings like this in the past. And there was a story about this truckers boycott of Colorado when they sentenced this guy to 110 years in prison because his brakes failed and he crashed.
Oh, I remember that.
Oh yeah.
So truckers were just like, I'm not going to Colorado. I'll go to prison. That's different. It shows you the power that truckers have. I mean, the free speech convoy in Canada terrified Trudeau and his government so much they started seizing the assets of people and arresting them. If truckers really do say we're not going to go to New York City, and this is something that I predicted as a possibility like a year or two ago, it gets to the point when social order breaks down, truckers probably lean more conservative than liberal because you're working really hard all the time. Right. I think they just, de facto. Why deal with a city like New York that's corrupt, destroying this country, when you can simply say, I'll take a load anywhere else?
Right.
So maybe this does end up having a big impact. Newsweek is reporting right now that the dude who made the original video has deleted it and said, so I don't like this Newsweek article. They say he backed down. No, he made a video where he said, I'm not an organizer. I was just telling people what people were talking about. So I do think the mutterings are happening. My bigger concern is I don't trust that people on the right are coordinated enough or ideological enough to turn down increased wages and job offers, right? So if a bunch of principled truck drivers say we won't go to New York, there's going to be some young dude. His boss is going to call him and say, hey, everyone's rejecting this New York trip. We'll pay you double. And he's going to go, all right.
Right.
And then what?
Right.
I feel like New York is already kind of collapsing in on itself. I just spent a week there for the first time in a long time. We used to live there, and
How many times did you get stabbed?
I'm still got gauze underneath the
Yeah.
sweatshirt. It's crazy. It was oddly quiet, dude.
Just real quick, sorry.
Yeah.
Don't forget. Don't put a minute. When we went to New York, when we had the billboards put up,
yes.
we're like, okay, so we spent all this money on this billboard campaign. We're going to go and we're going to get photos and we're going to like celebrate. That morning, when we were there, I was like a homeless guy, walked up to a tourist woman and just slashed her back with a machete or something.
And then when you were there New Year's Eve, that year prior,
there was a shooting.
There was a shooting
In
right down the
Times
street,
Square
in
on
Times
New
Square.
Year's. Anyway,
Right.
tell your
Well, I
story.
was in Times Square too, and my wife used to be a waitress in Times Square. I spent a lot of time there. It was so quiet, and like I was telling everybody I was in this Sirius XM show. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, it's just like that now. No one goes to work. Everyone's on Zoom. The city's just
Still.
dead. Yeah. And like this is like the conservative Sirius show, so they've been stuffed in a corner of a skyscraper so that their guests don't offend. Shout out to Wilcow show, but like I was just like, the city's already collapsing. You know how many businesses were shut down during COVID? 1,000, I think, something like that.
Dude.
I think so. I'm just saying the boycott seems to already have started.
Right.
People don't want to go.
I feel like I'm wet blanketing Trump but I think what they're doing is nasty to this guy. It doesn't seem right. It feels like coordinated and political. But I think what the January 6th thing, people thought he's got my back. I'm going to go out there and protest for Trump. And then they were on the premises. They got arrested, and Trump's nowhere to be seen. So, if people are they gonna suspend their livelihoods and risk their livelihoods for this guy? I don't know.
No, that's totally unfair, Ian. I mean, Trump just came out with some golden sneakers.
Yeah, they're
and
sold out.
If you're it's sold out too. So if you're in solitary confinement right now for January 6th, you probably got a big old smile on your face that Trump put out. I'm just kidding. I'm ragging. I'm being a dick. I think one of the criticisms over January 6th is that Trump should have pardoned everybody. And there's an argument that he could have declared a blanket pardon. I don't think it's that easy, and I don't think Trump knew what he was doing. I don't think Trump knew what was going on. I don't think, it's kind of weird because Trump is, the view from most people that are making these political arguments is that Trump is this grandiose, super intelligent 5D chess playing figure. I mean, like his supporters and his detractors.
Right.
I think Trump's a dude with ideas.
Yeah.
And some of those ideas were pretty good. I like what he was doing. I think he's made some personal sacrifices. I think he's also done some like not too good things periodically. I think he's done some really bad things. Commando raids in Yemen, reportedly killed an 8-year-old American girl. This one is not confirmed as Abdurrahman al-Awlaki's killing by Barack Obama is. I would like to see this investigated. I don't know that Trump, what his involvement was. I don't know if it actually happened.
But he pardoned Kodak Black.
And not Julian Assange, and no clemency for Edward Snowden. Yep. And so he's not, it's the craziest thing because there are people who really think of him as like, he should be the like demigod figure. And then there are leftists who view him as like a demi-satanic figure. And I'm like, he's just some guy. He's a smart guy. He's a successful guy. He's got good ideas. But like, why didn't he do enough for the J6ers? I'm like, I don't know, man.
Let me ask you a question though. Like, all right, so you say he didn't pardon Eric Snowden. But regardless, if you felt like
Edward Snowden.
Edward Snowden.
Sorry.
But regardless, if you felt like what Edward Snowden was doing was right or wrong, but to go somebody who is our, like, after, you know, maybe what, Asia, who was our or China, who was our, or North Korea, excuse me, who was our number 2 enemy after North Korea.
Russia was?
Yeah.
Russia might be our, well, I think China's our biggest adversary. Russia is certainly a serious enemy of the United States.
Second or third, right?
Yeah.
So for someone to go there and give them our trade secrets, is that able to have a pardon on it?
Well, I don't think Edward Snowden gave Russia U.S. secrets. He published them. He put them out publicly. I'm not a fan of him doing that.
But that's where he took asylum at.
Right. Where else could he go?
I don't know. The Bahamas? I don't fucking know.
They'd probably send him right back, wrapped in a casket with a gold ribbon on it.
Yeah.
You only like that's the challenge, right? The world it's not so black and white. I mean, I look at Vladimir Putin and I see a bad guy.
Right.
Like, he's not a good dude. He doesn't care about our interests. He cares about his country, but insofar as it like gives him control and wealth, because he's like anyone else who wants power and thinks he's the only one who can do it. And despots are not wrong in the regard that they can create order. It just means a lot of people suffer because of it.
Right.
Navalny should not have died. That being said, I'm not going to cry over, Navalny. He's Russian. He's not American. I'm concerned about what's going on with J6ers in America. But you look at the Clintons, you look at the Democratic Party, the Uniparty, the neocon establishment. I'm like, the only reason, like, if it came down to a war between Russia and the deep state, I'm on the side of the deep state simply because I live here too, and I don't want to get blown up. And the only shared interest we really have is both of us not getting blown up. Other than that, they're crackpot evil people.
Right.
They think they're smarter than you. They think they're better than you. They think you should do as you're told. They should be in charge forever. They think our founding documents don't matter. They will spit in your face at a moment's notice. And the only saving grace is they also live on a piece of land we have to share and live on. That's the only thing we have in common.
Okay.
I wonder that sometimes if the people in the deep state actually are Americans sometimes, because it's like, who are they? Corporate?
When you say deep state, what do you mean?
When I think of it, it's like people that are feeding the money into the political realm.
Okay.
That aren't in the politics.
I think of reptile people.
In all seriousness, deep state was, I believe it started as a term to reference what's called permanent government.
Okay.
And so deep state.
You can't vote them in or vote them out.
Right. They were appointed. They hold power, and they will never leave.
There's also a shadow government, according to Alex Jones. I was like, what's the difference between the deep state and the shadow government? And he was like, the shadow government is a global thing that's in there in case of nuclear war to keep the government going.
Are those families we often reference when you talk about the deep state?
No.
Like
They might be involved,
That might be the shadow government.
No, I don't think
that
so.
Ian's talking
I
about.
and I don't even think.
So who do we call the deep state?
So it's the FBI's DC bureau. It's the CIA, NSA.
Okay.
So people like Brennan, right? John Brennan, they lie to Congress. So here's what I like about Snowden, and here's what I don't like about Snowden. Snowden saw that he was a contractor for, I think it was like Booz Allen or whatever. Was it Booz Allen?
Booz Allen Hamilton?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's like, holy crap, the U.S. is doing these illegal things, violating the Constitution. Look at this thing, X key score. They can spy on anything anyone says at any moment. They can search for whatever you're doing at any time. I got to tell someone, I got an idea. Here's what I don't like about what he did. I'm going to download everything without reading it and give it to some journalists. That is not whistleblowing.
Okay.
That is leaking. And I don't believe leakers should be granted the exact same, I guess, good grace as a whistleblower would.
Okay.
That being said, at this point, clemency, like, look, come back. It's long said and done. There were some really important things exposed by what you did. I say come back and we'll forget about it. But I think what's an important point to make is that he leaked a bunch of. There was one instance where he leaked documents that didn't get redacted. He leaked documents to Glenn Greenwald, Laura Poitras, and a few other news outlets. So I don't know who published it, but there was a piece of information, didn't get redacted, and it resulted in an emergency where they had to evacuate someone because I think it exposed their identity. That's not good. I don't think anybody got hurt, but that's the problem of leaking things. With Bradley Manning, now Chelsea Manning, this was specific illegal actions and specific information pertaining to illegal activities that were leaked to WikiLeaks, like the collateral murder videos where U.S. forces killed a Reuters journalist. Okay, well, like that's malfeasance. That's whistleblowing.
Right.
And so for that, I say, now as for Julian Assange has never even committed a crime. It's just ridiculous fake charges. They're just trying to destroy this guy for being a
The
journalist.
horrible thing of all those guys is I feel like even if Edward Snowden was pardoned, if he stepped foot on this country, it'd be like Edward Snowden did not kill himself. That would be the phrase. People would be saying that out loud.
Yeah,
Oh, bro. There would be a letter. Like he'd write a letter saying like, Edward Snowden writes a letter saying, I'm very glad to be home. I missed my family. And I'm very grateful that I finally have the opportunity to see everyone I've loved and missed and cared about. Then underneath that nicely written letter will be big, bold letters. And that is why I took my life. And like, just, you'd be like,
I wonder
okay.
about Tara Reid.
His-
She flew to Russia.
His immediate family is probably under watch all the time.
I mean, I think it's probably an understatement. I bet there's like a dude, like his family comes home and there's a guy smoking a cigarette in the corner of the room with like in a silhouette and you can just see the light from the cigarette. And then he goes, carry on. That's their whole life now, I bet.
Right.
I think he's married in Russia. His wife's in Russia with him, and they have a kid, I think, now.
Those some bad chicks over there, bro.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Russia.
I mean, like, look at the UFC fighters. Khabib.
Wild animal.
Yeah, I dated a Ukrainian girl. That's close enough to Russia.
Yeah, that's Slavic nature.
Yeah, bro.
They know what hard is.
You know how she could kill me. I can say that.
So you don't think no, you're good. You don't think with like Kodak, like Trump pardoned a bunch of people and everyone questioned why he pardoned like rappers and like what do you look like the mayor of Detroit or something?
Oh, a bunch of people. Lil Wayne, Kodak Black.
Yeah, Lil Wayne, yeah.
But Lil Wayne, I kind of get.
You have to. The greatest rapper alive.
Yeah, Wayne deserved it.
What did he do?
Kodak,
was it a gun charge?
Gun charge.
in
Yeah.
New York. And Kodak Black did so much shit. Who knows?
I don't know what he was in for.
But people were pissed because they were like,
Assange.
like, yeah.
Well, come on. I mean, Wayne was cool, but Assange
but
would have
you
been
know-
great.
you know-
I don't think Trump knows morality. He's been rich too long.
Yeah, you were saying that before the show, how like you can lose touch with the common.
You can lose touch. Like I'm not even like rich, bro, but like if I ask for a hamburger from or just say if I was like, hey, if you had a runner, hey man, go get me a #1 at Chick-fil-A, no pickles with a lemonade. I'd give you $40 and not expect change. Just because like I'm thinking about too much.
I've been doing that lately with. I'll just buy stuff on Amazon, get my coconut water, the juice, the food, and I don't think about like $40, $50, and I'm like, there's a lot of people that do right now.
You lose touch, man, and I think like as far as Trump, he's been rich too long, and he had a wealthy father, and I just don't think he knows morality as far as going to, like you said, a blanket pardon for everybody involved in January 6th.
All right, I'm gonna ask a question. Nobody answer. I'm gonna ask one at a time. I'm gonna ask David first. How much does a gallon of milk cost?
Probably. I mean, if you listen to the news, I say probably like $13.
$13. Ian, how much does a gallon of milk cost?
$7.99.
Shane, how much does a gallon of milk cost?
I get raw milk. It's like $7.
$7?
Yeah.
Serge, you know how much a gallon of milk costs?
I'm lactose intolerant, so I don't know.
Nobody here
$6? I don't know.
Nobody here
It's
knows how
cheaper
much a
than
gallon of milk
$5,
costs.
man.
I buy it
be
right
like
out of the cow.
$1.99.
I was gonna say like I don't know $4.49 or something.
I mean, what's a gallon of gas? What's a
depends
gallon
what
of
kind of-
gas here?
$3.39.
So
It
I mean,
depends what kind of milk you're
okay.
getting.
So let me take my answer back. $3.39. So I'd say a gallon of milk probably costs twice as much as a gallon of gas.
I think normal.
All right, at Walmart it's $2.56.
Oh, good.
Oh, what kind of milk? That's just straight up
It's
poison.
subsidized.
Whole milk.
That's just
What?
poison. I mean, we know that. That's not real
It's
milk.
got that our reverse
Okay.
bovine growth hormone. Is that
Yeah.
what they put in there? I don't.
The bad stuff.
We get the Fairlife milk.
What's that mean?
It's like I don't know if it's even milk.
It's not
No,
Bill
it's-
Gates milk.
But
it's
it's
got the lactase enzyme, so I can drink that. 'cause
yeah,
it allows me to digest
it's
it.
like it's a special kind of ultra filtered milk. You can store it outside of a refrigerator for like a year. It's got extra protein, less sugar. It tastes just like milk. I love it.
But it doesn't need to be refrigerated.
Once you open it, it does. But when you get them, they're ultra pasteurized, so they just come in a box. We ordered a bunch here because I'm just like, if I'm gonna exercise, I'm not gonna buy some whacked out weird formula like drink our weird drink. It's like I'll get coconut water and I'll get milk. We do have a bunch of different kind of sports drinks. We got the Numas, those are pretty good, and we got Gator Light because electrolyte stuff. But I'm just like, I don't know, protein milk seems good. So that's what we buy that. That's expensive.
This is an example of being out of touch, man. Because I thought $7.99. I was like, let's estimate with inflation. It's a gross over exaggeration. It's not like I was like, oh, it's only $1 when it was $5. It was the other way.
It really depends on the milk you're getting, though. Like
so how-
$2 milk from
but
Walmart
look,
is different than
How much was a gallon of milk like 10 years ago? Does anybody can look
It's like
at
I think
price,
it was like
pretty
$1.99 or dollar.
And now it's what, $2.39?
$2.56. I looked up Walmart. It said $2.56.
So why hasn't milk went up that much, but everything else has?
Probably
lot of milk, I guess.
subsidization. I think the corn industry is being subsidized. The dairy industry is probably being subsidized, and the gas oil industry is like the government's just probably printing and pumping money into it to make it stay cheap.
See, that's
my
why
guess.
that's why I'm on that like get your land and do your own thing.
You got big land? You think
That's
you got big
that's
property?
what it's all about.
I just bought a few acres out in Georgia, but I'm trying to after I establish this one, the next one will be like 50 to 100 acres.
Well, hold on.
It's awesome.
Did you get chickens?
Of course I got chicken.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Aren't they great?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gotta get a rooster.
Yeah,
that's
at least
right.
one.
We got a bunch. They're
Even though I
yellow.
want to, you know what I'm saying?
you gotta eat them.
A rooster? You can't eat no rooster.
Yes, you can.
They tough, right?
Yeah, they're tough and rubbery, but you gotta. We haven't eaten any of the roosters because we got a bunch of soft. We'll just say soft people here at Timcast. And then they're like, no, don't kill them. Oh, no. And I'm like, they are food.
I want some
And
of
there's
that,
too many of them.
I want some of that black chicken. You ever seen them black chickens?
No.
Oh, we have Silkies, and their meat is blue.
Yeah.
And then I think we do have the chickens with black meat.
What it tastes like?
You should start
So-
Bring one up here right now.
So I think so. Their eyes are all black. Their feathers are all black. The beak's all black. We might have something similar. I don't know if we actually have the ones that are just like
I own
all
3
black.
Wagyu cows too.
No
nice.
way.
Yeah. Well, let me know when you're ready to do a nice little cookout.
Oh man,
Yes.
Wagyu cows. Yeah, it's gonna be great. So with roosters, I keep saying like, you got to pressure cook them, get them real nice and tender. But you can eat anything. Come on, look at brisket.
Or a nice saltwater brine.
Oh, that'd probably be really good too.
Like a saltwater brine on a rooster.
Yeah,
Get it
slow
like-
cooked.
Yeah.
in a pressure cooker.
Yeah. Like cook a rooster at like 175 to 200 for like 6 hours
yeah.
and then put a nice sear on him.
He knows what's going on.
He'll probably be just as living in Texas, bro. He'll probably be just as tender as a chicken.
Did you ever think about opening a restaurant?
I'm actually opening a restaurant soon.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
What kind of restaurant?
Just barf. It's on me and my buddy Nick Franceschini. We bought a bar in Austin, and I'm gonna open up a little like late night food, but like do it in a better way to where it's like chicken fingers cooked in like rice flour, to where it's not like flour. Like I have celiac disease, which is me being gluten intolerant. So like I want to make stuff that tastes good for people who maybe can't break down flour and stuff like that in their body.
You know what I like though? I like corn breading, like a corn crust. Yeah.
Almond flour.
Come to Georgia, bro. I'm gonna fry you some catfish, some corn flour.
Oh yeah,
sounds
dude.
amazing.
Let me know when you're ready. Well, I mean, you do this shit every day, bro.
Yeah.
You gotta just get
We
that
had,
private jet and fly down there one day.
Today what we did was when we were in Miami, Luke Rutkowski, the first the first time we went down in recent history, because I lived there for a little bit, but the first time we went down like a couple years ago for the show, he said we got to go to Nusret. That's Salt Bay. You guys know he does the salt thing with his hand,
Waste some money.
dude. No way, man. Nusret, you got to eat there.
I ate
They-
the one in LA, maybe the one in Miami.
You didn't like it? All I know is one of the best cheeseburgers I've ever had.
What was so good about it?
It tasted good. I don't know what to tell you. But they do this thing, the Nusret special, where it's they bring out a cast iron pan, they pour melted butter into it, thinly sliced tenderloin, pan seared in the butter. Then they put toasted bread, dip it in the butter. and then put it tenderloin, bread, tenderloin, and they press it and they put it on your plate. It just seems like something a poor family in Turkey would make, because that's where Nusrat comes from. But it's like the most delicious thing I've ever
I got this
tasted.
idea for a restaurant. I'm never going to open it, so I'm going to say it online. Maybe
no, don't say
people
it
do
online.
it.
Tell them.
I'll tell you later after the show.
Hey, but look though, not even trying to promote my friends. I think Philip Lee down in Austin at Not a Damn Chance Burger. That's the
Oh, not a damn chance burger. I know Neen Williams.
yeah,
bro. When he
Philip, yeah, I think that's the best burger ever.
I've not been able to have one yet.
Okay.
But when so Neen, he's from Chicago.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say I'm like, we're not like good friends or anything, but I've known him and we have mutual friends. When he announced his story is amazing, by the way. You know his story, right?
Skateboarder, right?
Pro skateboarder, but he smoked a lot, he drank a lot, and then he had this like epiphany, got super fit, super healthy. Now he's like
Yeah, he's a fitness.
yeah, now he's like a fitness dude. And he came out with a spice blend called Not a Damn Chance. And now he's got his own burger place. I think he's got a couple of them.
Yeah,
but
it's probably like
It looks like
5 or 6.
he's working with a Michelin-starred chef,
Yeah,
Philip
Philip, that's
Franklin
Philip.
Lee.
So I know what's his name? Nadine?
Neen.
I know Neen through Philip.
Oh, cool.
So me knowing Philip, because Philip, he owns the sushi by Scratch.
Oh man.
And then
we
him
got
and Neen partnered. But that's the best sushi I've ever had in my life.
we wanted to do at an event, get like 800 NADC burgers and have them given out to everybody who gets a ticket. We weren't able to pull it off. We want to do it in Austin. But what I can tell you
that's
is
a lot of burgers, bro.
well, yeah, if we're doing like 1,000 seats, everybody gets a burger.
But they're not gonna be hot.
No, look, we're gonna set something up where they can make the burgers and people can go and order and get one. But when Neen came out with the spices, I was immediately like, oh, dude, awesome! Like I ordered a bunch.
Those are great.
Dude. We put it on every
Yeah,
like
it's
no
good.
the
I
spicy
got a lot
chicken
of it.
spice
Yeah.
on everything. I put on grilled cheeses. I put on cheeseburgers. I put it on you name it.
Yeah.
How did you meet up with Philip?
From working with Rogan, me being one of Rogan's openers, we would do our shows and he would be bringing us food and then they would come to the shows and they'd be like, hey, you got to come check out my sushi restaurant. And then they'd be like, oh, well, we just opened up a burger restaurant, so you got to come check out the burgers. And he fries his fries in beef tallow.
That's what's at.
The Wagyu, and his wife Margarita, who just opened up a bakery in Austin. She makes all the buns and shit, bro. It's just a well thought out, not putting some shit together burger.
I tell you, man, I used to work at
I-
a chicken shack, and I would take the lard, the beef, I think it was beef tallow, and it was lard, big block of it, and slide it into the chicken thing. They'd fry chicken in it for like 3 days, and then we'd reuse the oil for the French fries. Come out black and soggy, but when you use that fresh lard on the fries, they're golden and crispy. It's all about that lard.
I almost want to just do a show in Austin so I can get a chance to get one of those NADC burgers.
Let me know when.
We got to. It's so hard to pull off
Why?
So what we typically have to do is fly out on a Sunday, set up the show all week in Austin, so we can do the live show on the day of, and then we got to fly out on the weekend. So it basically results in like 3 or 4 weeks straight with no days off.
Is there a day we could
working
just
16 hours every day?
a way we could fly down there with super low budget, me, you, and Serge, and like for
Private jet.
2 days,
Private jet.
and then
That's the only way.
So the only way to do it where it's not super stressful and it's actually cheaper than setting up for a week would be we wrap up the Culture War show Friday morning, hop on a private jet at 12:30 in the afternoon, land. I think it would be like a 2.5 hour flight. That PJ is going to cost you like $60,000, and then do the live show, catch the return flight that night after the plane's refueled, and fly back home. And so what 60 grand. Yeah, you know what's crazy is
There and back.
there and back. Before COVID, it was like 10 grand, and so a lot of people were like, "Okay, so that I'll fly down, do a show, and fly back. It's expensive, but you make more than enough money doing the show."
Right.
Now it's like 60 grand.
flying during
Fly
COVID was
Austin.
the nastiest shit, dude. Did you guys fly during COVID with the masks?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was so breathing in that sweaty mask.
Well, here's the thing: you had to fly first class. They didn't bother you.
Oh,
Yeah.
you could take it down, and they wouldn't.
Really didn't, bro.
Let's do this. Let's jump to this story because I find this one funny, and we'll get back into the news. We have this from the Independent. GoFundMe launched for Donald Trump's unjust $350 million fine in civil fraud case. So there's a whole bunch I got to say about this. First of all, GoFundMe? I'm surprised they didn't ban it outright because they just ban everybody. Give, Send, Go's right there. Secondly, 10,800 donations already. $556,000 raised of $355 million. I don't know that they're going to make it to $355 million. But I would just like to point out, with Truth Social about to get their deal done, the Digital World Acquisition Corp or whatever it's called, Trump stands to make $4 billion.
What?
Okay, it's stock value. You hear about this?
Hold up. No.
Trump is going to be wealthier than he's ever been. Smart guy. So they launched Truth Social. Trump, being as famous as he is, it is the path. You know what's funny is everybody was like, Trump needs to get back on X. Even I was saying it like, Trump's got to be on Twitter, man. This is where he needs to be.
It's funny.
Yeah, no. Trump just monetized his personality and his platform to the tune of $4 billion. So the amount of shares he owns in the Truth Social or DWAC or whatever, if the merger happens, they're valued at about $50 a share. That gives Trump $4 billion in equity. He could then take 10% of those shares, hand them to New York and be like, you are now a minority stakeholder in Truth Social. Thank you and have a nice day. So, you know, people are donating to him, and I can respect it, but the man does not need it.
I hope he starts
But
wearing
I can
the gold.
respect it.
I hope he
That's
starts
true.
wearing the gold shoes now.
Yeah.
It would look good with
Dude,
that kind of.
I kind of
money in the
regret not
bank.
buying the gold shoes.
They
I'm
did
gonna
look
get
all
a
right.
pair. I'm gonna get a pair.
Can you? But people are just like reselling them for a lot, aren't they?
What they drop for 300? We could probably get a pair for. Yeah.
I think they're going for $5,000 now, aren't they?
I'm sure they're probably already online reselling.
Let's see what we got.
I'll pay 1,000.
Yeah, they're
Not
probably
even
already.
$5,000.
They're probably already charging more than that.
But I'm not even gonna wear it. I'm just put them in a case.
Yeah.
I fuck with.
No,
Trump
we're gonna
so
skate
hard.
them.
One shoe in one room.
They
and
look
then
all right.
like upstairs.
The shoes,
in another
the
room.
shoes
Tim,
actually
one
look
thing
okay.
about me, bro, I can't skate. You ever seen when 9,500?
Yeah, but it says
Wow.
sold out.
Fuck
Never
outta here.
surrender. Who? What? Like who? How do you get them made? I would buy them and then we would film a skate video in them.
Yeah.
Because what we'd be doing is it's not meant to cause harm or to insult the sneakers. It's to immortalize them in a skate video forever.
Yeah.
Close up
And
on the
so
feet.
then, and so then it's like you're watching someone do skate tricks, or like maybe like depending on the size you could get, you could have a couple different people do big tricks in the golden sneakers.
Everyone's got to wear a Trump mask.
Go to Hollywood High in the golden Trump sneakers and do like a kickflip back Smith down the handrail.
How many pair released?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was limited.
Yeah, limited
I don't-
edition.
It wasn't a
Limited is
ton.
only like 500 to 1,000 pair.
Dude,
It's probably
look,
1,000, I think, maybe.
Yeah. Super
the
limited
point of the
1,000
story is-
pairs.
Yeah.
it's wild to me that people. I mean, I don't know to say. Like, you can absolutely donate to Donald Trump, his campaign, and I think you should, especially if you want him to win. I think more important than that, people should be like getting their friends and family registered to vote, and you should be gearing up for the shadow campaign redux. Because if you think, you know, yeah, Nate Silver wrote an op-ed. He's a 538 guy saying Biden can't win at this point.
No.
And I'm like, if okay, look, Nate Silver's a poll guy. So he's looking at the game, fixing his glasses and going, well, based on the rules of the game, I don't see how Biden could possibly win. And then Joe Biden goes "Whew," and flips an ace out of his sleeve. He goes, oh, look at that. Throws on the table. And then he's got a royal flush. Okay, if you think the Democrats are not working a shadow campaign right now like they did in 2020, yeah, I got a bridge to sell you. No, I got some golden sneakers to sell you. I actually don't. I wish I did.
What is your thoughts on like politics and who to vote for and how to do it?
So here's my thing, bro. Up until 2020, I say I didn't really care. More, Democratic. And when 2020 happened, I actually had the time to like sit back and chill and like listen to everything because I was just a blind, didn't like Trump guy because that's what the majority said. And when 2020 happened, I went to reading and, looking at stuff and seeing what this dude did. And because up until then, I was in the rat race, trying to be famous, trying to get on stage, going to auditions, table reads, this, that, and the other. So when 2020 actually happened and I got a chance, and I'm like, what's bad about this guy?
Was there something in particular that happened, like in the news?
I think it was called what's the thing called where he gave money to the black colleges?
The
HBC,
the HBCUs came to
Yeah.
him and said, "You can just don't keep coming back to me. I like you, but just take the money."
Yeah.
Because Obama kept making him come back every year. That's what
Yeah.
he said. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was crazy.
And then I'm like, how's this dude a racist? Because like, if you give somebody resources or you give somebody opportunities, how is that racist? And the reason I'm probably being outed right now by the the BLM is because I have an opposing view, and I don't like that. I don't like how I can share the same complexion as somebody, and I don't think the same as them, and they call me, a white supremacist.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Joe Biden said. He said, if you don't vote for him, you're not black.
Yeah, but they're scared of me, bro, because I look like this and I have my views and I can take down their whole infrastructure. Because someone who looks like me should follow the same bandwagon as them.
You're familiar with Larry Elder?
Yeah.
They called him the black face of white supremacy. Like, what does that even mean?
Yep.
It's just like we're going to say words to shock and offend people.
They called me a white supremacist this week.
How's it feel?
Why? Because of the GF joke.
George Floyd.
Start calling you a
Oh,
white.
you can say I did a podcast with Willie D explaining myself, and I told them about an interaction I had with the KKK, where when I was in Georgia, I can say that?
When you were with KKK, I was going to ask you if you knew Daryl Davis.
No. Oh, the black dude who transformed. Yeah.
They called they I don't know that they called him a white supremacist. I think they do call him a white supremacist.
But here's the thing: I had an interaction with the KKK, and it's not trying to justify what they have done in the past or whatnot. But when it comes to life, I don't like to speak on history. Even if the history of police officers in LA is harming a majority of black people, I don't want to believe that to be my truth. So when I speak for my truth. And when I was in Georgia riding my dirt bike, I told the story on one of the podcasts. I said, man, I was riding my dirt bike. My dirt bike bogged out in a creek. And a group of people heard it happening slightly over a hill, probably like creeks down here, probably like 5 or 6 feet to where I couldn't see what was going on above me. And I told Willie D, I said, you know who came to my rescue? And I said, you know what was going on right over that hill? And he said, what? I said, a KKK rally.
Wow.
And I said, these people came and helped me get my dirt bike out.
That's ridiculous.
They helped me get my dirt bike out, and they said, go, get out of here.
Were they in their hoods?
Yes.
What? Someone needs to draw this.
Dude, this is wild.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, but if I would have listened to everything a black person has told me and looked at every video, those can be extremists. Just like when it comes to slavery. Whenever I think, and me personally, whenever I think a person who shares my skin color thinks of slavery, they think of Django. They think of a big house with 300-400 slaves, but that's not how slavery actually was. It was a lot of poor farmers with 1 or 2 slaves, and they couldn't afford to treat them like shit.
Yeah, we talk about Civil War quite a bit here, as many people may have noticed. But we were talking
A
about
lot of
this.
black people fought for the North.
We were talking about this on the Culture War show, Culture War podcast, Fridays, 10 a.m. And
The South,
when you start reading the history, a lot of people get the cliff notes of history.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing I was reading about was like Frederick Douglass.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was him. It might have been him or his wife, but you start reading about slaves who bought their freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, wait, what? How does that make sense? You're a slave. You're owned. You can't. Well, the reality was slavery just meant you were property of someone else. They controlled everything you did. But this didn't mean that you were on a plantation working on a farm. They could have you do anything they wanted. So they were like shoemakers. They were slaves. A guy would walk into the store and he'd be like, I'd like to have some shoes made. And there would be a slave making shoes. And slave owners would let the slaves take cash and make money for themselves to buy their own food because it was easier than slave owners managing everything for them. I'm not saying this as if it's like a good thing or it's like it wasn't as bad. No, I'm saying it's worse. It was that every element of their life was controlled and they were afforded only limited freedoms. Mm-hmm. And even when they thought they could have something of their own, it was still one person could decide. But my point ultimately is there's a broader view of what was ultimately going on with slavery.
So like poor farmers would have one slave and they'd treat him real well. And that was like a story that would happen that isn't told a lot. Because wasn't taught that as a kid.
No, I don't think that was common. I think the majority of slave owners, it was a small percentage of people who owned almost all the slaves. And it's like what David's saying, like people think it's like Django.
Right.
But a lot of it was just like a person who got paid nothing and had to work for you and couldn't do anything about it. Like
an indentured servant.
Yeah, indentured
Worse.
servitude was you take a big loan to get there and you're like, in X amount of time, I'm going to pay that off through work. But that was different than a slave. Slaves were owned.
Harriet Tubman said, I freed many slaves. I would have freed many more if only they knew they were slaves.
Right.
How is it that when John Brown goes to the Harper's Ferry Armory, you got a bunch of slaves who are like, I don't want to revolt? It's because the stories that people assume from movies are that the worst examples of torture are the examples of all slavery.
Right.
Slavery was bad. It was human beings stripped of their rights. But the nefarious thing about it is sometimes like people who were in slavery were convinced it was good for them. That's kind of the point.
But can you also play devil's advocate and say that out of all the groups of people that were enslaved, that my ethnic background of people possibly laid down and accepted it? Because didn't Jewish people, when they were trying to be enslaved, they committed mass suicide?
I don't know. I would say this: slavery existed throughout history, and it still exists today. And I don't know if I have the knowledge enough of any ethnic group to say one laid down or one didn't. What I can certainly say is, there were slave revolts in the United States, and ultimately a civil war where people fought over, which was in essence ending slavery.
So do you believe that enough? Do you believe that there were indigenous black people to America?
I would
Probably.
I would argue that.
From boats from 10,000 years before, from Asia across the Bering Strait down, colonized.
Or maybe back when it was just Pangea and we had what's the land strait?
The Bering Strait.
Bering Strait. Yeah.
Pangea was, I think, well before humans existed. And I think the theory with the Bering Strait is that like modern Native Americans descended from Asians. I would not be surprised to find that some point throughout history, black people made it to the United States or to the current North American continent, just not in great enough numbers to establish any kind of base or whatever, and the Asian cultures did. Pacific Islanders made it pretty dang far.
The reason I asked that is because my on my mother's side, her grandmother was considered a native, or they didn't really like being called Native American. They liked being called Native people. But she was a native person, and this lady is just as dark as me, but with a different texture of hair.
But I mean, let's say, when did the slave trade start? Like 1619?
Right?
They also that.
Yeah. So imagine someone is brought 1619. Somehow they end up living with Native Americans.
And intermingle.
100 years later, a child is born to a Native American tribe, and they're black.
Right.
Are they indigenous?
Yes.
Sure. I mean, they're descended from a Native American tribe who was here, So these arguments the left makes about like indigenous also fall apart instantly when you ask about Europe. So
apparently it started in 1526, just to interject.
Right, 1619
to Brazil was the first transatlantic slave voyage.
Yeah, bro.
1619 was the United States argument.
It's like these idiots that try to discredit me because my dad's from Cuba. It's like, you don't think ships stopped in Cuba?
Oh, yeah.
sure
My
they
daddy's darker than me.
I had a white dude at Occupy Wall Street tell me that, because they had this thing set up called progressive stack. That means if you want to talk, you have to be to varying degrees on the hierarchy of oppression or whatever. And then
That's crazy.
Yeah. So like if you'd raise your hand and you were
real.
white, this is what they did. It's called progressive stack.
I wasn't allowed to speak either.
Yep. The stack was this. You have the group gathering. Everyone raises their hand. Then based on who raised their hand first, they would select you, and then you would speak in that order. They called it the stack. Then they very quickly were like, well, that's not fair because white men speak too much, so we're going to make the progressive stack. So based on your oppression Olympics, so like if you're a white man, this is really funny. White guy raises his hand. And they're like, are there any people who are not white who want to speak? And he goes, I'm gay. And they're like, oh, you're good then. It was like, all right. And one guy actually was like, I'm not really gay, but, I wanted to speak. So I just said.
And let me ask, I mean, all of y'all are white or white appearing. We got an African. He's more African.
Well, here, real quick. This is the point I was making.
Guy?
The point I was making was one of these, when I was questioning why they were doing it, this white liberal guy says, well, look, you're white. You wouldn't understand what it's like to be oppressed. And I was like, I'm Korean. And I only recently learned this, but I'm part Japanese. And whenever I tell anybody, I'll be like, well, I'm German, Irish, and Korean, but I just found out I'm 5% Japanese. They go, ooh. Because everybody knows what that means. The part of my family, let's put it this way, the Japanese man did not enter my family consensually. Yeah, I am part Japanese, not because I like to tell people, I imagine it was a Romeo and Juliet story where the Japanese man and the Korean woman were like, I don't care what my family says, I
meet
love
on
you.
a boat somewhere in the middle.
And we'll escape together. No, they were warring for a long time and hated each other, and Japan occupied Korea, but there was a lot of war between them. And and then someone else pointed out the percentage of Japanese I am indicates it wasn't once, but more than once. And I'm like, who's this white liberal dude to tell me like, you have no historic oppression, so you can't possibly speak? And I'm just like, why do I have to tell you my race in order to be considered worthy of speaking?
Because they are openly racist on the left.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
It's only skin deep with them, you know.
Yeah, and your skin's not even white. That's the most annoying
I know
part.
someone who's doing improv, and she's Puerto Rican. Doesn't look as Puerto Rican.
Yeah, if she
as people
does
would think.
improv, we don't
Yeah.
take. They can't even speak.
She went up
Yes,
and did
and
she went up and did a Puerto Rican character, and all the white people in her team said, you can't do that because you're not Puerto Rican, and it was offensive. She's like, I'm actually Puerto Rican, because they're just looking at you how you look, your skin.
that's what I'm saying, bro. Like
ridiculous.
like any type of improv is the gayest thing. Like, what? You guys, they all want to be something they're not. Like, I was a thespian at first before I became a comedian, bro. Like, that was my thing, to be an actor. And you got to hang around all these white people that walk around talking with a fake British accent. And it's like, you're so fucking fake.
Dude,
Well, hold on. The only accent they're allowed to do is British. Otherwise they're being racist.
Right.
so David,
sh-
would you not do SNL?
I do what Shane's doing.
All right.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Shane Gillis did an Asian accent, and they canceled him because of that, and some other jokes within the podcast or whatever.
Right.
But I'm like, dude, there's this guy. I don't know if I can't remember who it was. It might have been Lawai 86. Is that the channel?
Yeah.
Lao
Might have been. I might be referencing the wrong channel. But there was a guy remember when the girl wore the Chinese dress to prom? What is it called, like a gi or whatever?
Right.
The Komodo?
No,
It wasn't a
Kimono
Komodo,
was
that's Japanese.
Oh, sorry.
She wore a Chinese
I'm
dress.
racist.
But you're good.
Double racist.
I don't know if I'm Asian enough to give you a pass on that one, but I'll try. But anyway, she wore a
Thank you.
I accept it. No, she wore a gi. The left said she was culturally appropriating and it was racist. So some dude was in China and he walked up to Chinese people and he's like, "What do you think about this girl in the dress?" And they're like, "Oh, very nice, like very good." Oh, they're speaking Mandarin, of course. Everyone he asked, they were like, "Oh, hey, really cool." Like, people in America are wearing our clothes. In America, they're like, "She's racist.
Yep.
You can't wear that."
It'd be like if a Japanese dude wore a cowboy outfit. That'd be cool.
What's
Yeah,
really?
that'd be cool.
Can you pull something up for me?
Maybe depends on what it is.
Type in Macon, Georgia. Colored waiting area sign.
Oh, like from not
I-
apartheid, but like
I just
segregation?
want to show you this.
Okay.
This is currently in the city that I grew up in.
Colored waiting room.
Is that racist?
What does it say?
Colored waiting
room.
I guess the issue is this. Like, how do you define racism?
I don't like.
Yeah, and
segregated
what color?
spaces.
Because my skin's colored. It's pink.
I don't.
So the basis of racism, and I said this the other day on the podcast, is a battle for resources. That's where the basis of racism comes from. If we're all in a 20-acre plot, and y'all say the black man is stronger, or the white South African is smarter, or he has more techniques to trap an animal.
better at math.
Yeah. So he knows how to trap an animal. He knows what time this animal. That's where it came from. So how is that?
Well, no, I think you're completely right. Right. So racism is one community saying, particularly based on race, we don't want to share with another community. Right. And so when it came to land of slavery and then the rise of segregation and Jim Crow and all that stuff, they're basically saying it's our community and your community is separate. Mm-hmm. We don't want you taking our stuff. You don't take our stuff. We'll keep it separate. They want to control the resources they have and allocate only to their own.
The slavery and racism got conflated in the United States because it's not the same thing. Because the African slave trade happened to be people with darker skin from Africa, that darker tint, whatever the hell. They think of it as a racist thing, but slavery is just human slavery. The Romans took whoever is slave. If they weren't
not
Roman.
only that, the British Crown enslaved Americans to force them to work on their naval vessels.
And there were Irish people were enslaved, part of the slave trade.
Bro, when I try to have any type of debate with another black person who, opposes my views, and I tell them, yo, we were basically, sold by our own people who looked at us, because it's like, think about taking, like, I don't know your land. I don't know up here where you're at. So think about a white European male, a white European male coming to Africa to trap Africans who doesn't know the lay of the land. Like slavery, those are the spoils of war.
Yeah, it was a huge
what was that
African
movie?
slave trade.
What was that movie that just came out about the female warrior?
Talking about the Bob Marley movie? No, just
No, do you guys know what I'm talking about?
What's it about?
There was like a black warrior woman,
oh, that movie that did horrible. Yeah.
but and they omitted from the film that she was a slave trader.
Viola Davis was playing. Yeah.
They were like, the reason, like, everyone's asking, like, hey, she was a slave trader. She captured black people and then sold them to Europeans. Like, why don't they talk about
The
that?
Woman King?
Yeah, something like that.
The West African slave trade. This is what I've heard. Do you know more about it, Serge? I mean, the tribal chieftains would enslave people and then sell them.
Bro, I
the ocean.
think too much, right? So I had this, what do you call it when you think of something but it's not based
Epiphany.
on fact?
Wait, no.
Not an epiphany, conspiracy.
Oh, okay. When you think of something that's not based in reality.
Bro, you got me drinking that $2,000 tequila. I can't even think right now. But I had a conspiracy about Harriet Tubman, right? So there was this like sketch I wanted to write, but nobody would touch it. And I'm like, think about this for a minute. Harriet Tubman freed, I think, under 100 slaves, right? How many slaves did she free?
Let's find out.
I think it was 79. I don't think it was an astronomical amount of slaves.
Let's find out. We got Google right here.
So badass.
70.
Oh, you're right.
70.
19. She rescued 300 people in 19 trips. Oh, a myth. Fact. It was about 70 people, approximately 13 trips.
There we go. So Harriet Tubman freed about 70 people. So I had this conspiracy that I wanted to make a whole movie about. What if Harriet Tubman was only freeing these slaves to pay a debt to another slave master in order to save her family?
But elaborate, like,
So she's taken. So say for instance, one giant plantation, kind of like the thing that Leonardo DiCaprio had in Django, and how he went to go find his girl.
Yeah.
So say somebody at that plantation was very dear to Harriet Tubman. Say for instance, that's what it was. Like they had her husband, her and her two kids, or her mom and aunt. So say she told them, "Hey, I'm a free slave, but what I can do for exchange of these is bring you a whole bunch of more slaves."
so she wasn't freeing them. She was bringing them on a trip and then delivering them to a slave.
She was a human trafficker.
That's the conspiracy theory that I had.
You could have it in the movie seem like the slave owners like go disrupt all these other plantations by letting their slaves free, but then you can find out later he's actually working for them.
Now,
some
hold on.
crazy shit.
With Tyler Perry.
This is a great idea. so hold on. Hear me out, David. Now, it's a great idea. In order to get this financed, we're going to have to make Harriet white and blonde.
But only at the end of the movie when she finds out she's a bad guy.
The point is, we can make your film about Harriet Tubman, but we're going to call her Karen Tillman, and she will be a white blonde woman from Atlanta who is trafficking humans. And then you'll get the financing for your film, and that's Hollywood.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing I asked Willie D, man. You know, like when we talked about the whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing, and it's like and you know they're angry at him for, you know, the things that transpired that night when he had to do what he had to do.
A judge ruled that he defended himself.
But here's the thing,
Or a jury did, sorry.
black people are mad at him.
Yeah.
But he did nothing to a black person.
They think he did.
So when I asked on the podcast I was on, and they were like, because those were allies. And I'm like, but in this same conversation, you call white people the enemy, or you call white people racist. So at what point can we determine who is an ally and who is an enemy? Because you can tell me you're for me right now, but what does that mean?
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Like
I'm trying to
when
sell you
it comes to the black community, like what determines who is and who isn't an ally? I mean, I don't care because I'll never go outside in March. Not because I
It
don't
was
want to
just
walk.
the optics. Like they turned Rittenhouse into the anti-BLM, even though he was just protecting himself and had nothing to
He
do
was
with
protecting
shooting
his
black. He wasn't shooting at black
grandfathers.
people. It wasn't even grandfathers. I think he heard that there was someone who wanted their business to be protected.
Yeah,
and
they
he
were
just
hired.
showed up. He actually did first aid on some people.
He was outside asking for first aid.
Yeah,
And not to mention, this dude was a pretty good shot.
he was a really good shot.
Falling on his ass, hit one dude in the bicep.
Oh yeah, he blew that guy's arm right off.
Damn.
I'll tell you what doesn't
Well, let's clarify.
indicate if you're an ally.
So
is your skin
that
color.
guy who got his arm blown off had posted he wished he had killed Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yes. Wow.
Kyle Rittenhouse fired as he was being approached by a man with a gun, and a jury ruled it was in self-defense.
And one of them was abused
that
children
dude's-
in his past life.
So
I mean, it's a wild story, dude.
Cal's my friend now.
that's awesome.
Yes, he's my friend.
Like
now.
since what happened with the George Floyd joke.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because
We've had him on the show. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's
yeah,
nice, dude.
he's a cool guy.
Yeah, he is.
And for me, it's like, bro, like you were 17 at the time.
I know.
Crazy.
Even if you were out there on dirt, even if you was out there, like I'm gonna get somebody who's trying to burn some shit down. Like even if you're 17,
But
and the fact that the dude hit you in the head with a skateboard twice, and you still had the cognitive dissonance to
not cognitive dissonance.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
a broken brain. Cognitive fortitude
cognitive fortitude. I've been drinking, sorry. Cognitive fortitude
to maintain your composure, and he even tried to turn himself in. But I want to do this. I want to jump over to this story because I want to make sure we get this one in.
Yeah.
This is a tweet from Quiver Quantitative. Recent stock trades by Congress have caught our attention. I want to play you this video. It's a minute long, and then we'll talk about it. The gist of it is, the people who are known for insider trading in Congress sure are acting as though there's about to be a major collapse.
Senator Tuberville just dumped a huge amount of his portfolio this month, and I mean huge. To put it into perspective, out of the 61 trades he made over the last month, 59 of them were sales. The other 2 were purchases of put contracts, which if you don't know, is a way to bet against the stock. The reason I'm telling you this is because Tuberville isn't just your regular congressman. When it comes to trading, he has one of the best records in Congress, right next to Nancy Pelosi. And maybe one of the reasons behind this performance is the crazy amount of Senate committees that he's on. There's too many to read, so you can pause and take a screenshot if you want. But it's safe to say, with the amount of privileged info he gets from sitting on all these committees, you definitely want to pay attention to his trades. Now, here's the weird part. Whenever you see a lot of bulk buying or selling by a lawmaker, you typically see some sort of trend. For instance, they could be selling financial stocks or buying energy stocks. But with the Tuberville trades here, I don't see any rhyme or reason to it. He's selling everything from automobile companies like Ferrari, semiconductor stocks like AMD, regional banks like Southern State, and I could go on and on. But here's the catch though. As if Tuberville selling all these stocks isn't a bad enough sign, this week specifically, we've seen some of the richest people in the world selling billions in stocks. In February alone, Jeff Bezos sold 33 million shares of Amazon, which at $170 each comes out to $5.6 billion. Mark Zuckerberg, same story, 900,000 shares of Meta for $416 million. And the list goes on. My point is, when selling like this is going on by the world's richest and most powerful people, it makes you wonder if they know something that we don't. To see any of the data mentioned in this video, I'm at a website called Quiver Quant where you can track it all for free, and would love for you to check it out when you get the chance. And as always, thanks for watching.
The answer is they do know something you don't. They get rich off of it. They bet against you. So I'd be interested to see, outside of Tuberville, who else is selling. Is Nancy Pelosi? What moves is she making? And I did notice this before. That's the reason why I bring this up. I did notice that Bezos, there's a big story when he sold off a huge portion of Amazon stock. I was like, that's kind of wild. Usually they don't need to. They're so rich. You just, what's he going to do with, what is it, $6 billion or whatever? 5.6 billion dollars? Like, what do you do with that cash?
Buy Bitcoin.
Move it somewhere. It may be.
Give it to me. Just give me the 0.6.
But look,
Spread it around.
Bitcoin did jump.
30% in a month.
But this is normal. Right
Guess,
before
went from
there's
38
the
to
halving is supposed to be
51,
happening. Maybe they just decided to move. I gotta say, look, maybe we're about to see some big crash. Maybe.
Absolutely.
But maybe, hold on. If the crash happens before the election, Trump wins a home run.
Yeah.
If the crash happens after the election, the Democrats say, we told you so.
But why is Nikki Haley still in the race? I just feel like Nikki Haley is going to be the Republican candidate.
I agree. Vivek
think
was saying
so?
it.
Yeah. Dirty.
Maybe not guaranteed, but maybe she is there because they are planning
It is
to do something to Trump.
Totally nonsense that she is in the race right now. Total nonsense. She's got big money. Don't know where it's coming from. Why she's still there.
Yeah,
What's
man.
RFK running as? Democrat?
Independent.
Independent? Okay.
Hey, Nikki Haley makes no sense. There, any way you put it, there is zero reason for her to be in a race because she can't win. And all the Trump supporters are laughing at her There's only one reason she's in the race. She is crossing her fingers and begging that Donald Trump goes to prison.
I think she'll drop
Only
out.
only
after South
person that
Carolina.
had a smidgen of a chance against Donald Trump was DeSantis.
Yeah.
A smidgen.
And then he
And that's the right word.
Right. Like anybody who, like, if we're talking about the turtle in the, anybody who was even kind of close, which it was still, 4 or 5 laps ahead, Donald Trump. Like the only person that could have possibly even made or got 4% of the votes.
You want to know what's wild? A smidgen is actually a unit of measurement. Measurement. Dude, I'm going into this. I don't even care. Okay,
do
a
it.
pinch
pinch
is
is
an actual unit of measurement.
Really?
Yeah, like back in the day, if you look at really old recipe books, it would say a smidgen, a pinch. I think
here.
like a nip,
A smidgen is a very
Yeah,
small
can we
portion.
see a visual representation
a
of
bit or a
smidgen?
mite.
a bit, or a mite, a tidbit.
Smidgen etymology.
And here's another really crazy thing I was just reading about. So, do you know why we say that there's hours, minutes, and seconds?
Why?
Seconds comes from the second hand of a clock. We're literally calling the unit of measurement
The second measurement.
the second
after minutes.
number 2. Like, yeah, a second
And a
is
minute
named after
is
the clock.
Minute. They're like, well, that's a minute increment.
Something
so it's
like
called
that.
minute.
And I'm like, where we count seconds, like count to 10, like how many seconds until X, and it's like before clocks, they didn't have any of that. So they didn't count time. I'm like, that's just wild. It's a weird thing. Anyway, back to the
I don't want to derail about the economy. This is a big deal.
Oh, you just woke up?
back to the economy. Back to the economy. Yeah, sundials.
Is this guy going to build a doomsday bunker? That's when I start to worry because there's
Mark
a lot of people
Zuckerberg-
building doomsday bunkers.
I know. And
Rick
you know
Ross is
why?
building a doomsday bunker.
Well,
now.
they're-
Rick Ross?
Yes.
Yeah,
What?
Rick Ross.
It was big news like a few weeks ago.
Yep.
Why?
I'm the biggest
We
boss.
should ask him. We should ask exactly. We should ask him, but he's not alone.
huge.
Someone told him I think he should build one, and then he did.
Did y'all see, speaking of Zuckerberg, y'all saw him at the UFC fight looking goofy?
Yes. He's like a
whatever, man.
cyborg. Yeah.
What is he waiting for? He was like, they're handing him some stuff and he didn't know.
Maybe,
It was
well, look, hold
malfunctioning.
on.
It was
awkward.
Now, everybody loves talking about these doomsday bunkers. And Mark Zuckerberg is apparently building one. It's not
Yeah.
the biggest. They're claiming he built like a $200 million doomsday bunker. It's not. It's a big property with a doomsday bunker. And why wouldn't you build one?
It's got like it's like a network of rooms.
Yeah,
and stuff.
but
No,
like-
but I think it was 5,000 square feet. So it is this
that's
massive.
nice.
It's a massive compound, a massive $200 million compound with a 5,000 square foot subterranean like emergency bunker. But,
let me ask
but
you.
real quick. I don't care about the bunker. I don't know why Mark Zuckerberg is trying to learn how to be like a black belt. He thinks something's coming.
Scared of Elon Musk. He
No,
don't.
he wants to raise Wagyu cows, be self-sufficient, be on a remote island with an emergency bunker, and be proficient in martial arts.
He's infatuated with Joe Rogan. That's the problem.
That's probably true.
That's what
This could be
sounds-
crazy when you see the riots in the dystopian future of people trying to loot doomsday bunkers.
Special.
That's going to be nuts.
So here's my thing: if you do have a doomsday bunker, say there is some type of catastrophe that ends most of civilization, do you really want to be around?
yeah.
You know,
If I have
why-
kids, keep them safe no matter
Here's-
what.
here's-
But why? Why you and your kids want to be the only?
well, you don't want to die.
I don't.
But,
yeah,
but
got to fight against
But
it.
here's like the bigger piece of the puzzle. Everything everyone does, let's just be real, 99% of what people do is for other people. That's just it.
Yeah.
The reason why solitary confinement is torture is because humans only exist for other humans.
Yeah.
And so I see your point. If like I've watched those doomsday movies and I'm like, would you really want what would you do if the world
Right.
ended? There's no mission anymore.
The Will Smith.
Actually,
movie.
Yeah, I was just thinking Legend. I Am Legend.
Here's a better way to put it. If you went back in time 200 years, you might as well be not a human. Because humans would be so dramatically different from your views,
Right.
from everything you want. You would not fit in. You wouldn't be able to do things you wanted to do.
No deodorant.
No, I mean, gnasty your teeth. People
what
would smell
I'm
bad. You have to work nonstop all day, every day. They like these things. Like, man.
Build your house by hand.
And that works vice versa. They
But-
look at us like we're not human.
No, exactly. Like,
You know?
imagine, you like going out Friday nights and going to the bar and having a drink. Now go back in time to a period where those drinks don't exist, where electricity doesn't exist, and you'd be like, this is awful. I don't want to live this way. But more importantly, the value system.
Yeah.
Imagine you're a gay man and you go back in time 400 years. Culture shock.
They didn't exist.
They did, but it was like,
One per
better not-
100,000. You had to.
better not say anything.
You would have to go from Oregon to LA to find
No, I think they existed, but it was just like it was not allowed. It's just not allowed.
Kind of
so,
like having a kid out of wedlock. Like there were
Right.
some people, but like, do you really want to be that person?
imagine it's absolute culture shock. Like the women who go to Dubai, and there's so many of these stories where they'll get raped, report to the police, and then go to prison for premarital sex. And they're like, no, but I'm the victim. Like, no, you're not. You're a perpetrator. You had sex outside of marriage. That's a crime. You go to jail. And they're just shocked. Like, what? Like, welcome to a different reality.
Right.
So, let alone living without humans, living in a different culture.
Yeah.
I'm like, imagine going to the future 200 years. You wouldn't be speaking the same. You wouldn't understand how to communicate. Like, imagine Benjamin Franklin came to today. He wouldn't know how to find out what the news is.
He might be one of the few. I don't know.
No
he
way.
would probably like
Some
it.
adaptable minds are like, I see
he'd
the
say-
fractal pattern. I understand this method.
He would say, get
Some
me a
of them.
newspaper so I can
I
figure
love Ben Franklin.
He would
Like,
say,
where
get
are
me
the
a
orgies?
newspaper so I can understand what's happening in the news today. And you could say, the newspaper is old news. You need the phone with Twitter to know the news. And he's going to be like a small, hard glass object that when you... it's beyond him, dude. And this is not... No, Benjamin Franklin is not immune to this. The older people who have a hard time with tablets and smartphones is because they did not grow up utilizing this degree of technology. The same thing will happen to us depending on the advance of technology.
Yeah, bro. Like, think about this, bro. You had to actually leave your house, get on a horse and buggy to allow somebody to see your outfit. Each one of us
crazy.
right now could show our outfit to hundreds of thousands of people without ever leaving this area.
It's unnatural.
Yep.
That is unnatural.
Y'all
so
saw
many
like
things.
No,
even-
but check
the
this
amount
out.
of
Like
women you're exposed
during
to,
war,
crazy.
during war, the commanders wouldn't get word something happened unless their guys made it out.
Right.
And if no one made it out, they'd be like, "We've lost word with this unit. We don't know what's going on."
Think of Lincoln being obsessed with Morse code, hanging out,
Yeah.
waiting to hear the
Yeah,
beep come in.
imagine a Twitter update. Hey, the North, we surrender.
What's good with Gettysburg?
Stonewall Jackson.
The wild thing is probably the most powerful weapons, or I don't know if weapons is the right word, the most powerful devices in terms of killing other humans in war is radio. The ability to communicate, because you can triangulate, you can surround people, the relaying of information. Whoever's got the most information. One of the things I love was Justice League had an episode where Vandal Savage sent a laptop, regular store-bought Best Buy laptop, back in time to himself, and it allowed him to take over Germany and win World War II. The things that were on that computer, the ability to calculate and do CAD drawings even allowed him to just rapidly advance technology. And it's like, to us, it's just I bought it.
crazy.
Your cell phone has more computing power than the rocket they used to go to do the Apollo missions.
One of my favorite lines.
I was careful in how I said that. I didn't say go to the moon.
I know. Thank you. I appreciate that. And one of my favorite lines
Shane's a
from
skeptic.
I'm a skeptic of everything, but from Mad Men, there's Ida Blankenship was the secretary when she died in the skyscraper. The character looked at her and goes, "She was born in the back of a barn in 1800, whatever, and she died on top of a skyscraper. She was an astronaut." I love that line. That's how I feel about my grandparents, looking at how they saw like giant hallways of computers condensed down into this phone. You know?
I was talking about that shit the other day to my team, and I said, I was like, bro, like, what was in the water back in the day? Like, like during the
Nothing.
Civil War.
Nothing, that's why.
To where they could convince you to play drums as people are shooting at you.
I think new water is
the
poisoning us into not
point
doing
of
that.
the instruments in the battlefield was not something symbolic. It was how they conveyed information.
Yeah.
So if they're marching forward and the guy's playing the drums and the other guy's got a horn, and then as they're marching down, the commander's way in the back, and then he hears, fanfare number 3 to drum beat 4, he knows that means cavalry's coming up from the right side. That's how they conveyed information.
That was the evolution of military tactics. In the beginning, it was all vocal. Well, I don't know if it was in the beginning it was all, but early on, it was a lot of vocal commands, and then they just evolved it into louder instruments that they could bang.
Trumpets, and eventually
I think we just have a
drums.
pandemic of complacency right now. People don't even care to leave their house.
Imagine if we had to go to battle and you had to hear like a EDM DJ.
Wait for the beat. Wait for the beat.
Danger Mouse.
That would be awesome. Slow motion.
The general's going to be like, hold on. I had the wrong track loaded. Hold on. It's Skrillex. Retreat.
They're dropping Molly at night.
When I met you in the summer. Flake, flake, flake.
So this is what would happen. Now imagine there's like an EMP and it like nukes go off and it wipes out all communications technology. And so we're forced to go back to instruments. The songs they're going to play are going to be like, okay, so if we hear Shake It Off, that means Charge 4, the center is broken. If we hear Beat It by Michael Jackson, that means they're coming from the left.
That's amazing.
Shake it out. Shake it out.
I was like, he's playing Swift.
That would probably be
Charge!
like secret army secrets too. Like if you could decode what songs the enemy meant, what they meant, you'd be able to anticipate their moves when you heard the music.
But here's a funny thing. I heard this about Iraq. When the U.S. troops started building stuff, maybe Afghanistan, the streets were named things like after Michael Jordan Boulevard and stuff like that.
Wow.
Because the troops were just young guys, and it's a dirt road they drove down with no name, and so they had to tell people like that street we call Manning and that one's called Favre. So you turn there and turn there. And so the street names were just like athletes because it was the names they could use.
Just what we did here when we named roads. They're like,
Well,
what was the name of that guy in England?
No, every city was like, you know who we really like? We like Jefferson, Madison, Adams,
Roosevelt,
Washington.
Washington's big.
So like
Then it was Martin Luther
I grew up
King.
on the corner of Roosevelt.
every city has like a Washington Street right downtown. Gotta have a Washington.
Martin Luther King Boulevard.
The funniest thing about that whole Middle East shit, y'all ever seen a video where they were trying to teach those Afghanistan troops how to do jumping jacks?
Yeah.
Police. Yeah,
And they
dude.
couldn't do it.
They should put that with the New York City policewomen.
Bro, like we learned jumping jacks in what, kindergarten?
Yeah, but this people need to understand humans like stop being able to develop.
Neuroplasticity.
Yeah,
That's what
like
they call it.
the wild girl story where she couldn't speak at all.
The chick raised by the dogs?
Yeah, and then when they met her
Yeah.
and they're like, wow, they tried to teach her English, but she could only basically grunt and say hungry,
Yeah.
sleep, and she couldn't formulate.
Apparently, psychedelics.
Did they
get you
find
back
her
into it.
naked? Because I still question that story.
I don't remember. I don't know. I just read that on the internet somewhere.
Yeah.
They said
But there was. Did you guys see that story? Oh, dude, this is crazy. That chick who was chained up, her brother and sister were chained up. There's a documentary they put out recently. You know what I'm talking about?
I think I know where you're going. The guy, if it is, the father worked for Lockheed Martin. If it's the same story.
Well, I don't know.
Keep
It's the 17-year-old girl escaped, climbed out the window, called the police, and she did not know words.
Yes.
So the cop was like, excuse me. He was like, "Are you injured?" And she goes, "What's injured? Are you hurt anywhere?" "Oh no."
Yes.
And she talked really weird.
Dude, he's asking the cops like, what street are you on? She's like, I don't know how to read. Like she
Yeah.
doesn't. The whole world just makes no sense
Yep.
to her, and she has a different like accent that
Yep.
only people who were chained in a basement forever would have. You
She was
know, it makes
talking
no
like
sense.
this
Yes.
because she never talked to other people.
that is one of the craziest documentaries. But the
What's
father worked for Lockheed
documentary? I
Martin.
want to see it.
Yeah, what's it called?
Yeah. I forget the name. But there's like the only reason she got out is because her older brother or sister gave her a phone and she was able to get into YouTube and saw Justin Bieber videos.
That's right.
And through the comment section, some people were like, what are you even talking about? She'd like write things that made no sense. And I think through that,
People realized she was
they were like,
chained
you
up.
got to like get out of that house. Like, this is what we're going to do. And it's
And then she
wild.
got out and called the cops and said, "My brother and sister are chained." And they were,
Yo.
he was like, "What?" And the cop was like, "I didn't know if I'd believed it."
Yeah.
So they went to the house.
She hid from the cops. Oh,
Yeah.
it's so sad. And then the worst part of all this, about this whole thing about our whole country, she got out. They put her whole family into foster care, and they got abused in foster care.
Jesus
like,
Christ, bro.
dude, come on.
We got to go to Super Chat. So if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, and most importantly, go to timcast.com right now. Click join us, become a member, $10 a month, and you'll get access to the uncensored members only show coming up at 10 p.m. And we're going to have a lot of fun. We got a story for you guys, and we're not going to be family friendly with it, but you're going to have a good time. And then we're going to have y'all call in and talk to us and our guests, and we're going to have a good time. So let's read some Super Chats for now. Tyrant's Blood says, first, congratulations, sir. You are the first Super Chat of the evening. T-Bomb says, first, libertymemesfoundation.org. Unfortunately, you were not the first Super Chat.
Yeah.
You
were
can
not.
there's one behind you, or you can go. Yeah, that one's just a magnetic door. But you can go that way.
All right, we'll read some more Super Chats. Let's see what we got. T.O. says, David Lucas, Kill Tony legend. Tim, how did you get connected with one of the goats of comedy?
Here, I'll show you where
We
it is.
got a lot to talk about in the Members Only Uncensored because we want to take comedy to its most purest form. And on a topical news show, oh, I got knocked. On a topical news show where we try to keep it as family friendly as possible, you know, There's only so much we can do. David's swearing as much as he can, but we don't. There's just probably people who are like, this one's not for my kids. You know what I mean?
Probably not.
Certainly the members on the Uncensored is going to be really, really funny because we've already got a bunch of stories, questions, and things lined up. And the gist of the story is we saw David Lucas do this stand-up routine where he got heckled. And everybody saw it. Everybody laughed their asses off. It was really, really good. It was about George Floyd. He handled the hecklers masterfully. The dude's so quick-witted. I was saying that earlier in the show. When I first came in and he was hanging out, we started talking a little bit. And it's like everything that comes up, he's got a quick-witted joke, like punchline response, just nailing it. And I'm laughing the whole time. And I'm like,
wild.
This dude's so good.
Yeah. The best thing in watching that video with the George Floyd jokes is watching people walk off.
No,
each one is like a little trophy. It's like
so
it just
funny,
makes my
dude.
soul sing every time.
I don't know if he wants to give up the full joke, but there's like 5 punchlines. It's really he told me the gist of it downstairs and like there's a punchline, but that's not really there's another one and then he keeps going with it and then I was like, oh dude. But the members on the Uncensored should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And but we'll see. All right, let's go. James Whittam says, first live stream, longtime listener. Keep up the great work, Tim. Can't wait for chicken shit Lenin statue. Okay, now I want to say, first, you spelled Lenin wrong. It's Lenin, not Neon, but
Might as well be.
fighting a sneeze. There's no guarantee we actually pull it off. And I also want to say this. There's no guarantee we pull it off. We are trying. I think it would be a lifetime accomplishment. There are a bunch of other practically important things we want to consider too. So I don't want to do a GoFundMe or tell anybody, like, I absolutely do not send us money for the purpose of buying the statue. We will try, but they could just outright say no, and it may be something we're not able to do. More importantly, as it pertains to what we're doing in Martinsburg, West Virginia, we got to spend a lot of money up in this area. So we might want to do that. But I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spike what we're working on by giving away too much information, which results in someone trying to sabotage our efforts. But, you know, I'll mention, you know what I'll do? I'll mention on the members only Uncensored, so it's a little closer to the chest, but still public. Because it's not like it's a big secret, but there's awesome developments that are happening in terms of the anti-Times Square. And so I think most people might actually say the Lenin statue would be hilarious, but building anti-Times Square is more important. And it's like, it might be. But we got a big development and some stuff's happening that's really good.
Do the communist group there own it? Or are they the ones
No.
Oh, okay, cool.
No,
So that's what I was
they just
concerned
like
about.
it, and we don't. And
yeah.
so it's privately owned, but
Okay,
you know.
true. I just want to give $250,000 to a bunch of communist kids somewhere. Yeah.
Well, just give me
Anyway.
$250,000. Let me show you what I can do with
Well,
it.
we're doing an anti-Times Square. So we want to build in Martinsburg, West Virginia, a bunch of parallel economy businesses. So right now we've got our coffee shop under construction.
Can I come out?
Absolutely.
Can I you got a house for me?
Well, no, but why don't you buy one and build one, and then you can have. Why don't you put up a comedy club in the middle of Martinsburg, West Virginia?
I love it.
And that barbecue joint.
Let's talk. Hey,
So
We need that.
So the idea is, you look at what Times Square is. We want to make an anti-Times Square of businesses that support our values.
Yeah.
And so you'll have this, like, I think it'll turn Martinsburg, West Virginia into a destination for people who believe in this country and want to see it come back. It'll revitalize the area. Our, like, number one guiding principle is the legacy generational businesses that are there and families are protected and held up before anybody else. I don't want any developers to come in and push anybody out. That goes against the mission.
Yeah.
There are people who have, like, you know, like a business that their great grandparents opened and they have it today. Yeah. And a lot of people are telling us that, like, wokeness is coming in, the economy's having a rough time, businesses are closing, and I'm like, let's turn that around. And the way we can do it is West Virginia is best Virginia. Kevin O'Leary said New York is out. He said West Virginia is one of the states he's looking at investing in, and that's right. West Virginia is the second most based state in the country. I think it was Wyoming that was first.
Really?
Yeah, that's the most Trump supporting. West Virginia.
So that's why Kanye went to Wyoming.
Oh, cool. Big on crypto too.
West Virginia is 86% Trump supporting. So it's the second most. And that's crazy because it was a Democrat state before, like not even that long ago.
Yep.
But let's read some more super chats. Let's go.
My favorite place is Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Oh, it's
Why?
beautiful, right?
Huh?
They got
come?
potatoes.
No, bro.
it's
It's
the
beautiful.
lake is up there. It's beautiful.
It's
Pay-
beautiful. It's
or not
very
pay-
Republican.
Oh, okay.
Dude, I would live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
They got snowboarding.
I don't know about all that.
They got it in Washington. You got to go across to not Spokane. I think it's Spokane actually.
Or-
Really?
Yeah, Spokane, yeah.
Yeah.
I went to Cascade, I think it's called,
Oh, Cascade. That's where my parents live.
in Seattle.
Not Seattle, in Idaho.
It's in Idaho.
Cascade is not. There's Cascade in Washington too. Pretty popular
okay.
name around there.
Yeah, probably. It was great. Yeah, we went to Timberline Mountain this weekend
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's in Oregon.
in West Virginia.
In West Virginia.
Yeah, Timberline, West Virginia. It's the highest elevation in the area. It's 4,200 and some feet.
Oh, okay.
East Coast, skiing and snowboarding is not.
Yeah.
West Coast is always better.
Coeur
Few
d'Alene means
hills.
heart of an owl, but it's an owl, AWL, that tool that you use for knitting.
Oh, yeah.
You ever
All
been there?
right.
You ever been
Let's
there?
No.
It's beautiful.
Oh, wow. I'm looking at
It
photos.
Let's
is.
grab
Beautiful
some
place,
more
man.
super
lake,
chats
too.
here. Ariftus says, what if Klaus Schwab was just super excited for the release of Helldivers 2? Because you do go in the pod and eat the bugs.
Is Helldivers too good?
Have you guys seen those Amazon houses they got?
Yeah. Yeah.
Those little ones.
That fold out.
I gotta be honest. I really want one, and I'm also really scared because I was watching this podcast clip from a guy who said in the future everyone's gonna own a home. It's just not gonna be a home you want to live in.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like these little pod boxes. It's like 30 grand, and they deliver it. There's obviously no basement. It takes them like a half an hour to set it up. It's a big box thing. It's like a big sheet, and they unfold everything, and then it all just clicks into place. And it's a 1-bedroom. It's got a bathroom, it's got a kitchen, living room, and it's got a bedroom. But they're relatively small, and the ceilings are low. But it's super cheap, and it's like your own place. It's got a bath. It's infinitely better than living in like a bachelor 5x10 box for $2,000.
Yeah.
You'd have to buy like a 1/4 acre of land somewhere, have it delivered, dropped off, hooked up to the electricity, and then to plumbing. But that's probably going to run you, I think, all in all, after everything's said and done, you might have like $50,000 to $70,000. And for a lot of people who are younger and don't get it, doesn't mean you put that money down. That means you save up $7,000, and then you get a loan and you finance it all, and you're gonna have your own place. And I think that's what's gonna happen.
$500-600 a month, maybe less than that.
Yeah. Yep. And you have essentially, I don't know, what is it, like 200, 300 square feet or something? Not even.
They look bad in floods.
Well, don't
can't
put them in a
imagine.
floodplain.
I mean, they just look like they're just gonna get swept away.
We want to buy a
Legos.
couple for Freedomistan because they're like private offices.
Yeah.
We could easily like put 2 of them up.
Man, get 6 of
Not
those
not
things.
only that, check this out. If we built 2 of them, it would eliminate all of our hotel costs.
Oh, true.
And it would
True, true,
dramatically
true.
reduce our travel costs for
overhead.
picking up guests.
Yeah.
Yep.
Guest gets picked up and brought right to Freedomistan, where we've got 2 little like
Private
those.
lodging.
Yeah.
You're talking about the kind that folded out.
But
and
if
push out, yeah.
you could order it from Amazon, how much if you find a contractor, they could probably build you that same thing. For
See, here's the other thing. They have these things called bunkies. There's a website. I got an ad for it on Instagram because Instagram knows exactly what I want and when I want it.
It's like, oh, he wants a tiny house. Give him a tiny
Yes.
house.
And they're so cool. They're 2-story tiny houses for $12,000.
Whoa.
You're talking my language.
There's no bathroom though.
That
The
is
Amazon
foreign
ones.
to
build
me.
an outhouse.
Yeah, nobody's gonna want to come and stay in an out. Like, but if
I
we,
would if you brought me up here and you told me I have a 2-story like little guest house and I just had to walk 10 feet to the bathroom.
No, have you ever used an outhouse before?
Yeah, I used to be in Boy Scouts.
I don't think people are gonna want to. And there's no like. I mean, we got
Part of the experience.
Yes, you're not doing it forever.
Rustic.
I think we'd be smart to invest in 2 of these little.
Oh, yeah. Get 2 now. Get 4 more later if you like them.
No, I wouldn't. I think 2 is good because when one guest comes in, and then they leave, one guest comes in, then you rotate, and then we just hire a person to clean,
Yeah.
and then we know like because we gotta book hotels. We do like 2 hotels a night every day of the week. It's expensive.
Yeah.
I think we could, like for the cost of 2 months of accommodations. Man, that's crazy. We spent
Yeah,
a
you're
lot of
right.
money on
Bro,
housing
you're
guests.
right, man.
So with me building a house now, dude, and I was going through like a contractor or whatever you call it, and you know what the price was they were charging me to build everything, like $889, like almost $1 million. And now that
For
I'm
how many square feet?
so the initial house is 3,800 square feet, and then the separate house where I'm gonna like do this is like 1,800. So that was $889.
Wow.
That was $889. And once I went in and started like getting prices on my own, I got that down to $487.
Wow.
Like
Well, so-
just not using one person who monopolizes everything, just going and being like, hey, because I'm doing a lot of it out of pocket. So I'm like, hey, how much will you lay this foundation down for? okay, how much will you frame this for? All right, how much will you set this in for? How much will you do my roof for? And then just separate everything, even though it might take me 18 months to do it.
Yeah.
I'm saving like half.
So there's this skateboarding website that writes about me nonstop for some reason. I really don't know why, but it's just like it gets a lot of attention. But they published this, and like a lot of people saw the article claiming that the video we put out of Freedomistan, which is under construction and they're building a skate park, they said Tim Pool unveils his $2 million skate park. And I'm like, yo, that is not it. Like, we announced a $2 million investment in multiple phases, and this is phase one, which is $500,000. The full building, the construction inside is probably closer to like $700,000 total. But that's not just the skate park. The skate park was like, I don't know, 200 to 300. Everything we're building for it. But then they write this article, it's like $2 million, and it's like people don't get it, you know. But we are investing a ton of money. It's not just about the park; it's the whole facility of production, the studio. We're building a studio underneath the IRL studio, which is going to serve as like hangout shows, like video games and skateboarding.
I was kind of mad I didn't get to see that because I saw your Instagram. I was like, fuck, I get to see that.
And you know what's funny is like we could go there and do the show there right now.
Yeah.
But we don't want to. It makes no sense right now because they're doing construction in the mornings, and so I can't do the morning show there. But I'm not going to record here and then drive out there, and then like it's just we got to get the art going, and so we're like we'll get it all. We're like 2 or 3 weeks out, maybe 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Here we go. We got a good this is an important one. Fails R Us says Loudon Fire and Rescue mentioned that if you want your donations to go directly to the deceased firefighter's family, you need to add Brown family in the memo line. So that link is in the description below. Shout out to our first responders. And it was crazy because we got that breaking news last night. Basically, a house exploded in Loudoun County, which it's wild because everybody's heard the stories about Loudoun County and, you know, what's going on there with the fights over wokeness and stuff. Really close to the airport. And actually a family member of one of the Timcast crew was seriously injured in it. So, you know, shout out to everybody who helped out and shout out to our first responders. I hope it works out to the best for the best. Let's grab some more super chats. Jacob Hawley says, my dad is a trucker from Milwaukee and Madison to New York City. It is already insane. He was called by a freight broker in New York who offered him a bonus of 25% to deliver to New York because all the other truckers were refusing. Hold the line. Whoa! Oh, man. Well, Newsweek reports the guy backed down, and I'm like, I bet it's because it's getting big. Like, if truckers are actually talking about it, and then he makes a video, and they think he's like, I bet he was getting reached out for comment by journalists, and he's like, no, I am not the organizer of this. So I hope so, man.
Was there any relation to that and what happened in Martinsburg with the trucker protests there?
I have no idea.
Someone mentioned. Was that you that mentioned that?
I
was
I
a couple
drove through
weeks
there and
ago
there
or
was
something?
it was on like I think it was on like our internal chat or something like that. And I drove through there and there was a bunch of truckers lined up and honking a bunch. Like it was like 3:30 yesterday or on Saturday, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
Fix Bayonet says in 1932, the U.S. Army tore down the shanty town in D.C. Tanks and cavalry troops.
Cavalry.
Yeah, the cavalry is like
Cavalry Hill is in
Yeah, that's where they carry the cross. And, you mean cavalry?
I think there's an L in cavalry.
So cavalry troops drove out 10,000 World War I veterans who were protesting for their bonuses.
that's right. That's right.
I think it's funny that people sell each other out so quick, you know?
Yeah.
You're a veteran, you're like, I didn't get paid. And then another troop is like, don't care because I'm getting paid. Get out. Yeah. Yep. Polly Puree says many large truck companies have had a no NYC policy for years. If some independent truckers refuse to go there, that would cause New York City a disaster. So I read one report that said prices are feared to go up like 30 to 40%.
Jeez.
Because the supply is going to drop dramatically.
Right.
There was truckers were already talking about it's really difficult to get into New York as it is.
Yeah.
And I know because I've gone through the Lincoln Tunnel. And
Even with a car.
I know, exactly. Let alone a truck trying to deliver goods. 10-4 Lucky Charms says, as a trucker, I refuse to go to NYC. Bravo, sir. Bravo. I would absolutely love it if all of the truckers are just like, nah, we're good. Because it's free market. It's choice. Just Jimmy says, Tim, cover the farmers, fishermen, taxi drivers, and truckers in the EU. It's been real for weeks. France and so many others ain't messing around.
Eva Vlardnerbrook went there and has been reporting on it for over a month. She was in, I think, Germany, maybe. She's been all over the.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly where, but
happening all over the place.
Check out her Twitter. It's Eva Vlar, I think, is the Twitter account.
Eva Vlar.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Lord Seapig says, way to oversimplify what happened in Colorado. His brakes let out miles prior, and there's video of him dodging the runaway ramps that are for that. It could have been avoided. 10 injured, 4 killed. That's right. He drove past a runaway truck ramp, and I read a couple different stories about it. And there's no real explanation for why he didn't go up the runaway truck ramp. However, some suggest he couldn't read.
Wow.
He didn't. He was not trained properly. He didn't know what he was doing. And the reason why so many people were demanding clemency was because the company, allegedly, that's what they say, had a track record of violations. And I suppose the argument was, this is a 23-year-old guy with no training and no idea what he was doing, and they told him to do a haul in the mountains, which he could not handle and didn't know what to do. And I wonder if he actually knew what a runaway truck ramp was for.
Yeah.
They were saying that he burned out his brakes.
Oh, so it wasn't even engine braking? Oh, dude.
I have no idea. All they said is that people filmed smoke coming out, and he was just like going downhill out of control. Didn't seem to know what he was doing. There was an accident, cars were piled up, and he couldn't stop, so he tried he tried to swerve out of the way and then crashed. But 110 years in prison? Look, this is what I said when I recorded about this. The point of prison, what is it? 1, lock dangerous people up so they can't hurt people. 2, provide emotional satisfaction to family victims. Families of victims. I totally get that, but more. That's not the most important one. It's
rehab.
Some kind of. We say that, but it's really retribution. Right. But it should be rehabilitation. In an instance where a guy it was an accident. How is that? What justice is done by putting him in prison for 100 years? Right. What they should have done is take away his license forever. Yeah. You're not allowed to drive anymore. And then they should have made him restitution of some sort to the best of his abilities. He's a poor guy. I don't understand why we put him in prison. 1, he's not a violent. There's not going to be a repeat offense. Right. And all it does is cost us money. Yep. So what's the point? Because the emotional satisfaction of people, can we accomplish the emotional satisfaction in another way somehow?
Did he get it overturned?
The 110 was overturned and dropped to 10. I don't even know what the point of 10 years is.
10 to probably do 2 or 3.
Yeah, but do we really want to spend money on this?
No.
Why do I got to spend money so that someone else is emotionally satisfied? We're not solving any problems.
Right.
I think the family deserves emotional satisfaction. I just don't think me spending money. I live in Colorado. I'm saying in terms of prisons in general. We're not actually accomplishing anything by just dumping money on this thing and locking people up.
Yeah, I agree.
Violent offenders, yes. Accidents?
Yeah.
There's got to be something else. It is what it is, I suppose. But truckers were refusing to drive into the state. And so the state saw a serious problem with deliveries and prices, and then they had to back down, basically. Let's go. What do we have here? Yuyo says, Cameron Elementary School in the city of Woke, West Covina, California. A sub was allegedly watching porn in front of kids and also taking pictures of students. He was not arrested. Protest happening tomorrow. Wow, that's crazy.
Good. Protect the kids at all costs. Mm-hmm. Good.
Well, even places like West Virginia, you've got woke elements trying to come into the schools, and people aren't paying attention. Got to pay attention. All right, let's go. Dimsum Nimsum says, hey, Tim, can you shout out my sister's GoFundMe? Search Help Brandy Continue Fighting Cancer. She's a single mom and is going to fly across Canada to get treatments. This has been a 3-year fight for her. Thank you. Best of luck. Best of luck.
Sure, I'll send her $500. Send me her GoFundMe on my Instagram.
You got to search Brandy Continue Fighting Cancer.
I'm not doing all that, but if you message me, I'll send her $500 tonight.
You know, I've read a lot of crazy stuff about cancer, and I am not a doctor, so don't listen to anything I'm about to say if it's factual. But I was reading this, and I'm curious what you guys think. It said cutting sugar out stops the cancer from being able to grow because
nothing to feed on, right?
Yeah, if you starve yourself. I don't know if this is true. We actually talked about
along
this
these
before.
lines. I've heard it's if your lymphatic system gets acidic, overly acidic, the cells normally they release waste into the lymphatic. You have your blood and your lymph, your two fluids in your body. If your lymph is too acidic, the cells can't reduce their waste into it, so they get hot and then they split in half because they can't get rid of their waste. So if you alkalize your lymphatic system, then the cells can shit as normal and they don't split up. They don't. That's one thing I've heard from Robert Norris, who's a naturopathic doctor.
So they won't mutate.
I don't know any about that. You should talk to a doctor because this is just.
But sugar's very
talk.
acidic, so that's what made me think of that.
But someone was saying that if you if you go into like keto, you're basically in starvation mode.
Yeah.
Your body breaks down damaged cells first.
Right. It's autophagy.
Autophagy, that's what it's called.
Breaks down the cells that are dead or dying or anything. It's essentially your body using your natural resources to stop cancer. It's like a cancer treatment itself.
I heard that yogis
Who fast a lot.
they live to be like 180, and no one believes it. But there's like, I've had these guys tell me that like up in the mountains, there are yogis. All they do is meditate all day. They rarely eat. They only drink water, and rarely. And they live to be like 180, and I was like, I don't believe it. Come on,
Yeah,
like
but who wants to live 180 years like that?
they're monks. They're
You
just
seen
like
the video of that one monk in his bed? He's basically a skeleton, shaking
108
hands
years
with the
old.
lady.
Oh,
Yeah.
in India, right?
He looks like he's a corpse.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
like he's
yeah.
skeleton.
I agree with you, Dave. Like, who wants? I'm all about that kind of thing, but
Dude.
who would want to live in
Well, look,
sitting
look.
in a mountain all day?
You
I guess
guys-
maybe there's some zen to it. Maybe.
you know that dude who's like trying to make himself immortal by like the rich
CEO.
that CEO guy.
Yeah, I want to meet
He
that
like gets
guy.
blood
Who's that?
transfusions and he
Oh,
ages
yeah.
Oh, that
himself.
dude.
Yeah.
I read an article. I don't know if it's true, but I read an article where he claims a teaspoon of olive oil with every meal limits the amount of damage your body takes from eating food. And he said it's the cheapest and easiest, most effective thing that he does and anyone can do. And so what he was saying is like every time you eat, your body gets a little bit of damage. Over time, it builds up. Olive oil prevents that. I don't know about all that, but I do know that there have been numerous studies showing that caloric deprivation extends lifespan. But it's also like not a life you want to live.
This is a guy taking the blood from his son.
Yeah, I
Right.
think, right?
Yeah, I know a scientist in New York City who was doing experiments where she would take an old dying mouse and a young mouse, sew them together, and watch the old mouse get better, and then the young mouse die.
But it would even out.
I don't know if they would. I think the young ones died. I think the young ones died. It was crazy.
Bro, I saw what's that documentary about that dude? I don't know what part of Asia it was in, but he's supposed to be like the oldest guy, and that guy went to go live with him and ate with him, and he owns like a rice wine farm.
I don't know.
No idea.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, and he's supposed to be like one of the oldest people in the world, and he drinks every fucking day.
Oh yeah, yeah.
256-year-old man,
Yeah,
No.
let me see the picture.
Hongju.
Is there a YouTube video about him?
I don't know. Maybe.
maybe
Happiest
it
man in
was
China. A few things came up.
I don't
have to
know.
look into it.
I don't like when I read about caloric deprivation studies, and then I had this guy tell me that there are yoga masters, like monks, who live to be like 180. I'm like, if you fast every 3 days and all you're doing is sitting there meditating and doing literally nothing, that sounds plausible. But like,
Yeah, you take like a
it sounds
breath
crazy.
every minute. Your body kind of goes into a
because if
low
your body's
stasis.
not doing anything and you're barely moving, and then you're rarely eating, that's caloric deprivation. And I was reading they like extended lifespan in like mice by like 60% by not giving them food. They just they go into starvation, they become depressed, and they give them a little bit just enough to keep them alive. And that's why I'm like, you'll live long, but it's not a life you want to live. I'm not saying gorge yourself to enjoy life. I'm saying, come on, everybody enjoys a nice steak. You know what I mean? Like imagine not eating that. And I also want to add, Allison and I have long tried to learn how to make the best steaks. And you go to a nice restaurant, a good one, like a fancy steakhouse, and they make you the best steak you've ever had. But nothing beats thinly sliced tenderloin fried in butter, pan seared on both sides, medium rare with some salt on it. And I'm like, I don't know about all that steak. It is good, but man, the butter fried tenderloin, Nusser Et's got it right.
Is it this dude? Can you see him from here, dude?
I can think that. Hold on a minute.
Oh, I don't want to put my computer on the screen. This is.
Let's grab some more super chats while they're
see
looking.
all my tabs. I don't know if that's.
Let's go. Bill Hughes says modern music in war. It's got a good beat and I can march to it. What's they just play Fortunate Son.
That's
like the only song they
Did
play.
you see Mad Max? Thunder was it the,
The
new one?
newest one?
Thunder
It was
It was
amazing.
the second Mad Max, whatever, where that dude's playing guitar on the front of the
Yeah.
truck.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
what
it's
it would be
part of the
like.
score. It's
Yeah.
so deep. It's like so meta.
You'd be that guy.
Yeah,
that'd be amazing.
me, dude. Strap me in.
He's like got the bungee cord.
Moral support.
Swinging
Yeah.
through, yeah.
In like an all silver
So-
sequin shoot. Yeah.
Fernando Tillman says, Karen Tillman, I am black from Georgia. New name, please. The funny thing is, like, any
Karen Tillman. That's
any random name I make up,
amazing.
someone's going to have.
Sorry, Karen.
There was a funny thing where like I did a segment and I looked into the camera and said like Bill Smith, you are 30 years old from Ohio, and then like someone commented like, yo, I am Bill Smith.
You have summoned me.
All right, here. I love this trick. I want you all to think of a number between 1 and 1,000.
All right, I got it.
All right, 1 and 1,000. Everybody listening, think of a number between 1 and 1,000. You were thinking of the number 597.
Dude, somebody just crapped their pants.
So Penn and Teller did this joke. He was like, think of a number between 1 and a million, and then he's like 687,954.
I found it.
And he's like, right now, some of you out there are going, how did they do that? And the rest of you are like, what? That's not my number.
What's the guy's name?
It wasn't the oldest man in the world. It was visiting the man who hasn't slept since 1962.
Wow.
Yes.
How
Shit's
does he-
crazy.
Oh, I gotta
What,
look it up.
dude? I've heard
Does he
people who don't
meditate?
sleep and they're
Bro,
just going
it's,
nuts.
Was he like on another? How do you?
Bro, he literally smokes cigarettes all day and drinks rice wine.
Does he have someone to like stop him from falling asleep?
Nah,
Or is
bro,
just got it
he
down
can't
now?
sleep.
Oh,
he'll
he
lay,
just can't.
He'll lay in the bed, but ever since he went to war, he said he can't sleep.
Wow, man, that's
His name's
crazy.
Ty Nook. I'm not sure how you pronounce that.
Sounds
Man,
racist to me,
No,
bro.
it's people in.
Sounds like you're being racist over there,
All
dog.
right, let's grab.
Yeah, that was probably.
let's
my
grab a couple
cultural
more here.
appropriation, I guess.
All right. Let's see. MF Damien says keto helps many cancers, but makes a certain type of brain cancer worse. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, it's like something about like the brain needs sugar no matter what.
Yeah.
And so he-
Glucose for sure.
You know what? I also want to say this too, because everybody's always like, I'm doing keto, and then they eat a steak. I'm like, that's not keto.
No.
Keto would be like eating a stick of butter.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of
Gotta
fat.
have Hella
Yeah.
fat.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's not keto about steak?
Protein gets turned into sugar.
Yep.
So the point of keto is to have like very low carbohydrate.
And burn the fat as sugars.
Yeah, replace the sugars with the ketones.
That's
Burn
why
the fat.
people on keto put like MCT oil in their coffee.
Oh yeah,
heavy cream.
coconut
like-
butter, that stuff.
When I was, that's why I never really said I was doing like people call it keto, and it's like it's fine, but I would always say like low carb because
The Atkins diet.
I do a lot of protein because I'm trying to exercise. I'm not trying to just like lose weight. I'm trying to get fit and like like do better. So now we're doing like sports massage and sports stretching. Crazy.
Oh no.
It like I gotta tell you, man. Like once in your life, go to a professional sports massage and stretching person.
Yeah.
Because like people are like, I have back pain, and then you buy like inserts or whatever for your shoes. I don't know about the chiropractor stuff. All I know is a professional like stretch person, like a whatever you call them, physical
Professional stretch person. I like it.
That's right, like Stretch Armstrong.
Coin it.
Stretch Armstrong.
I was saying this the other, like a couple weeks ago. I had pain in my shoulder blade, and he right away did a stretch, and it was gone. Oh, wow. And I'm like, man, like I've had that pain come and go for a long time, and you just showed me in one move in 10 seconds how to get rid of it.
Because I'll make
That's
the
wild.
mistake, if it hurts right here, I'll press on the spot that hurts over and over and over for years, but it's another area of the body that pulls it and twists it.
And so we got this dude, and he's like, oh yeah, I could. What you're feeling there is actually from here, and then he like does the stretch, and you're like, what? All right. So anyway, we're gonna go to the members only uncensored show, which we've all been waiting for. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Go to timcast.com right now. Click join us, become a member. And on the front page of the website, in a couple of minutes, you will see the Uncensored Show, which is going to be live. And you don't want